everyone, and welcome to Perth, Western Australia. That's the Speed Dome, the venue for the first round of the UCI Track World Cup. 3 rounds this year. First one here in very balmy, warm and fast Western Australia. What a location to kick things off for track cycling globally in 2026. And Perth in Western Australia, what a beautiful place it is. Let's find out a little bit more about this splendid state and city. The city lights of Perth dance on the Swan River as Elizabeth Quay comes alive by night. Whether it's the skyline at Matagara Bridge, the golden sands of Scarborough and Cottesloe, or those wonderful Indian Ocean sunsets, there's so much to see. Beyond the capital, Bustleton's jetty stretches into turquoise waters. Ancient Crystal shimmers deep inside Jewel Cave, and the Cape to Cape track traces rugged coastline through the southwest. Margaret River pairs world-class wines with dramatic ocean scenery. And offshore, magical Rottnest Island awaits with its famous quokka. Western Australia is where dream events happen. And we capture that spirit and energy at Perth Speed Dome as the world's fastest riders launch the 2026 UCI Track World Cup. Dream events certainly happen in Western Australia as the riders doing their final preparations before the first race gets underway. Day 2 here in Perth. I'm Scott McGrory, joined by former world champion in Kate Bates. Kate, men's Omnium to get things going here, and you can see the riders sweating. It doesn't take much to get a sweat up today, touching on 40 degrees here in Perth. Well,
a hot track is a fast track, and certainly the riders are feeling it. A lot of the athletes getting ready. You can see Australian Lee Hoffman there. It looks like he's got a bit of a wrist injury, but just getting that looked after. And you can see that the fans are on in full force for all of the athletes. Balancing, warming up, and what a glorious place it is here in Perth. That beautiful sunset over the Indian Ocean, and a big program for tonight.
Yes, kicking off with the scratch race, the first of 4 disciplines within the men's Omnium. And the women's sprint are down to the semi-finals. 4 absolute superstars going head-to-head to try and make it into the final. The big men, they're on display in the Keirin, and we'll see the women's Madison as well. Reduced field, so it'll be a very tactical battle with all the things happening globally at the moment. But you can see the field all lined up, just trying to get themselves into final positions. And that's the stats of the velodrome. 250 metres, pretty much the standard Olympic and World Championship length velodrome these days. Don't have to always race on a 250, but we do here, as you see, Graham Frisley being held up by Cameron Meyer. So a bit of helping hand there. Frisley grew up in Australia, rides for the USA. Cameron Meyer from Perth, Western Australia, coach for Great Britain. There's a bit of a combination for you.
We've got a wonderful start list. Roger Kluger there. And he's multi-time world champion in the Madison. He's a Madison specialist. The Omnium 4 events, the first of which is the 10-kilometre scratch race. The most experienced rider in the field, and Conor Leahy, the Australian, the Olympic champion, he's turning his focus this season somewhat to the bunch racing. Very capable, certainly we've seen that at national level, but internationally he's a bit untested. So the first of 4 events in the men's Omnium here.
Conor was 6th in the points race at the World Championships last year, and you must say 6th, wasn't on the podium, but it was a really gutsy ride, I must say. So it was a bit of a standout bunch race performance by Conor. And as you say, Kate, looking to try and expand a little bit on that. He's been such a time trial, individual pursuit and team pursuit specialist. And let's see what he can do here in the Omnium. They are underway, 40 laps of the track, scratch race to get things going. So the winner of this will get 40 points for the overall Omnium series, and 38, 36 as it goes down.
17 riders out on track. The first to cross the line is the winner in the scratch race format. Not every rider, though, willing to sit around and wait for a sprint. Some of the riders, they've got different attributes. Some would prefer to wait, save energy and come down to a sprint. Others are really hoping a group can duck away, maybe take a lap and not have to contest a sprint with a full peloton of 17.
Well, you mentioned Roger Kluger. His teammate Moritz Augenstein picked up the elimination gold medal last night by going on the surprise attack, going solo in the elimination to win. And Kluger's not one to hang around and wait for a final sprint either. I think he'll be aggressive as we get further into this.
Well, he knows how to ride a bike. 3 times world champion in the Madison, 40 years of age. You don't spend 2 decades racing around a velodrome and not pick up a lot of skills. The youngest rider out there, Nick Peterlin from Slovenia, he's only 19 years of age. He's on the front there in the distinctive green topped skin suit. Very talented young rider, but this is his first real chance gaining experience in an elite international field.
And Kluger could be his father, that age difference.
Sorry, Roger, but it's true.
So far, single file, not super hot pace just yet, but they all do ride such big gearing as well, so they don't really slow down that much. With the gears they race these days, they do have to keep on it a little bit just to keep that speed up. Ferrari, speaking of speed, from Argentina, swings up. Number 1, what a name, Augustin Ferrari.
And it can be deceptive. They might not look like they're travelling too quickly, but as you mentioned, a big gear, and that means that they pedal fewer revolutions per lap of the track when the gear is a bit bigger and heavier. It is harder to accelerate, but the natural rolling speed is a bit higher. A few gaps opening up, not all riders prepared to take their responsibility for a turn of pace at the front. You have to be careful. If a gap opens in front of you, you need to waste a little bit of energy in order to close that down. But it's a good sign that they've ducked off the pace when the gaps really reduce between all the riders.
And Connor Leahy there from Australia, just on the outside of Wu Junji, just forcing his way in. It's a little bit of push and shove there without being too physical. But Connor just trying to get himself down, and as soon as he gets to the front, swings up and goes to the back again.
Well, there's certainly some riders that you will highlight in there as good wheels, as safe people to follow, and often during the race, once you find them, you stay behind them. We did see that last night, actually, in the elimination, both the men's and the women's. Certainly Australian Tom Cornish found Augenstein and decided that he wanted to stick with him. In fact, Augenstein ended up attacking in order to shake off Tom Cornish and not have to sprint against him. The first of 4 events tonight, because the conditions are quite hot, it will lead the riders to be a little bit more conservative in terms of energy for this first scratch race.
I'll come around to get 27 laps to go. Not quite at halfway just yet. No attacks. The pace hasn't really eased off, so a good high tempo, which may be discouraging some of those attacks. So the big man, Kluger from Germany, goes through. Silver medalist way back at the Olympic Games in Beijing in the points race. Chu from Hong Kong in the light blue colours to the top of the track. And there's Graham Frisley now in the new colours of the USA. The faded look, Pascally look.
You can hear that fantastic sound, the whirring of the disc wheels as they come around. Interesting, Connor Leahy just swung up from 4th wheel. He wants to duck back. He doesn't want to take any responsibility for the pace. It suggests to me that he may be setting himself up for a bit of an attack later in the race. When it does start to bunch up a bit, we can tell that the pace is off.
Adam Krenek from Czechia, 11th in the Omnium in Chile, Santiago last year. So good form from last year's World Championships. Frisley on the front. Then it's Imamura from Japan. Bronze medalist in the World Championships in the Omnium back in Glasgow 2023, Imamura. So he's certainly going to be one to watch.
Benjamin Van Aert from Indonesia. He's the Indonesian champion. Just a quick turn he takes, leaving Connor Leahy to take the pace. Only 50 metres he wants to spend on the front. Right behind him was Max Schmidbauer from Austria, the tallest rider out there, 190 centimetre frame. A big, strong rider, but only 20 years of age.
Flick of the elbow. The international cycling signal that you're about to swing up off the front. Do not overlap my wheel because you'll crash if you do.
A sign of respect and safety.
Yep.
Because if you do clip a wheel, both riders can come down. You can see the pace is picking up. Even the body language. Graham Frisley on the front, ducking down, looking to be aero, trying to push the pace, increase the speed, but in the most efficient way.
Just gotten through the halfway mark at 20 laps to go now, coming around to get 19. 40 laps in total, first of the 4 races within the Omnium event. This men's scratch race. They'll have the tempo, then the elimination, and finishing up with a points race. Usually it's split between the afternoon program and the evening, but here in Perth at the UCI Track World Cup, doing all 4 bunch races in the evening session. So that points race at the very end of the session tonight is going to be super tough.
And just off camera is Vladislav Troman from Uzbekistan. He had a crash in the elimination last night. He did get back on, but he's dropped off the back, and you'll see him at the top of track here. He's actually losing a lap. I'm glad to see he's out there and racing after last night, but obviously not feeling amazing. Krenek from Czechia really increasing the pace now. Gap's starting to open.
Imamura been on the podium at the highest level. Watch out, we mentioned it yesterday, just the rise of Japanese endurance cycling over the last couple of seasons. They've always been good in the sprints, but they've become very, very accomplished in the endurance races as well.
Well, he's been very good at international level in Omniums, but often only for the first half and then fades into the second half. Big
move from Cont now, the Australian, on his home track here in Perth, Western Australia, the first real big attack. And that's put Roger Kluge under some pressure. He senses the danger and wants to shut this down quickly with 14 laps to go.
And it's a perfect way for him to ride. He's the 5-time individual pursuit national champion. So he's very comfortable out on his own, setting his own pace, but the pace is now off. They all move up the track. An opportunity, the next mover, Krenek from Czechia, he's been consistent. He's joined, which helps him, Ramazan Yilmaz from Turkey. And this pairing is the first real gap we've seen.
12 laps to go. Imamura trying to chase things down. Schmidbauer from Austria is with him. Connor Leahy also. So now there's 5 riders distancing themselves from the rest of the peloton.
They swing up the track. The commissaire points to the front of the race, up, down. There's a little bit of jockeying for position going on.
Well, these two have gone straight over the top, Schmidbauer and Imamura. And with 10 laps to go, this is where the hesitation also starts to creep in. Those riders with a really good sprint finish don't want to waste energy, and that's when the gaps can really open up.
And you do have to be smart, and that is why in these events there's only 1 rider from each nation. They can't get help from anyone. They just have to form an alliance, if they can, with riders of similar attributes. The 2 at the front are about to become 5. Strength in numbers. So Imamura really pushing the pace here. Schmidbauer, but Frizzley has just joined.
So Frizzley, Shu from Hong Kong, and also Joe from Malaysia. So 5 out in front. Then the question, who can chase this down? Group of 3 in the chase group. Roger Kluge has been caught out, but this is showing some real strength here from Imamura. He was the one that really pushed the pace. Frizzley jumped across and closed the gap down really quickly as well.
Well, Leahy, Petelin and Krenek are the 3 riders looking to join that group and make it 8. 8 out of 17 is still much better odds for points. They'll come around and see 6 laps. That's 1.5 kilometres left to race.
This is the chase group. Connor Leahy from Western Australia just trying to come up to that group now. 5 riders in front. Should be joined by 3. Kluge trying to come to the back of them as well. So with 5 laps, they'll come around for 4 laps to go now into the final kilometre, and they are spread all the way around the track here.
There are 4 different groups starting to really come together. You can see when they move up the track that they've given their energy up, but the consistency from Imamura and Schmidbauer.
And there's a crash.
And that's Leahy that is down, and Frizzley.
And Frizzley. Wow, Frizzley, one of the pre-race favourites for this scratch race, so that's really unfortunate, the Australian and the American go down.
They will have to neutralise this. They're looking at neutralising it. One of the commissaires, Frizzley, close to the edge of the track.
2 laps to go. Imamura off the front. 2 riders trying to get themselves away from the edge of the track. But Imamura is showing incredible form. I said he's been a bronze medalist in the Omnium at the World Championships before. That was in 2023, and he comes into the final lap with a significant gap over the rest of the field. Imamura should come away with the win here. They will come at him really quickly, though, as they go down the back straight. It's Adam Krenek that's trying to close the gap down, but he's going to be too little too late for him, as Shinsuke Imamura wins the scratch race, the first discipline within the 4-race Omnium series. He gets maximum points. Great way to start.
Krenek in second, Wu in third, and the young 19-year-old Petalin coming across in fourth. All eyes on Frizzley and Leahy, who they were very close to the edge of the track. They are both up, we can tell you. Off camera, that's what we're able to see, which is a good sign. They need to get on their bikes for the commissaires.
But a dominant performance there from Imamura from Japan. Forced the attack. Then when it all came back together, he went again solo and was strong enough to hold on the last couple of laps as well. So that was a dominant performance for him. Confirmation, Imamura from Krenek and Wu. Petalin, the teenager, up there in fourth place, showing good fine. And a really smart ride from Clever Martinez to finish there in fifth place to maximise the amount of points that he can get as well. Unfortunately for Frizzley and Connor Leahy, they were having some problems with that crash at the end. Roger Kluger, no great points for him either. So that's going to be a hard fight back through the next several races.
Well, Imamura in 2022 led the Omnium at the halfway point, faded toward the back end, but as he has developed over the years, we've seen a bit more consistency in the final two events, the elimination and the points race, and certainly the way he raced that so many times, the field swung up, not sure, not ready to commit, and he would consistently keep going.
We might see what happened here. Oh, and it was Connor Leahy that clipped the wheel of Joe, the Malaysian, and unfortunately, innocent bystander there, Graham Frizzley, going down as well.
He's back on his bike, but on the right-hand side of his body, which we can't quite see in that shot. There is a fair bit of bark off. He's left a little bit on the track. But what a great start to the Omnium, and it shows that there's a fair bit of tenacity out there. I was particularly impressed with Imamura, but also with Schmidbauer, who was his partner out there in a lot of the breakaways.
And you see the commissaire on the right, so that's a good slow motion indicator of there is one of the officials that is constantly looking at the front of the race and following them around. She's not a big fan of the movie Grease. It's not about Go Grease Lightning. She's just pointing out the leader of the race so that we can all understand who is out in front. Pretty straightforward then. Imamura from Japan, comfortably winning the scratch race.
And if there wasn't 2 laps left, there may have been a neutralisation. The commissaires were certainly looking at each other. It's very hard at that point in the race with how quickly the riders may move off the track. They're keeping safety and fairness of the race in mind at all times. So great call from the commissaires. Both of the riders are back out, and I'm happy about that.
And Kate, she might be a fan of Grease. I'm a big fan. It was a great movie.
She may well be. Grease Lightning all the way.
But the officials are, well, the crew actually, are just checking the track now. And they always do this on the wooden tracks. When there is a crash, they make sure they go up there and check that there are no splinters or gouges in the track, quick sanding, or get the tape out to put over the top if there's any issues.
They often arm themselves with a little vacuum cleaner just to make sure that there's nothing that will cause a either flat tyre or otherwise. But the women's sprint semi-final is up next.
That was Mina Sato that was waving to the camera just before while they were patiently waiting for the track repairs to be done. Sato up against Elise Andrews. So the reigning Keirin World Champion up against the Olympic Sprint Champion. What a final, what a heat that's going to be. And then in the second race is Lee Friedrich up against Wan Liying. So 2 fantastic races coming up in the women's sprint semis.
And there's Andrews in the black New Zealand kit. She qualified 4th this morning in a 10.548, the 26-year-old, 2-time Olympic champion, the first woman to win both the sprint and the Keirin in an Olympic Games, to do the double, and rides that beautiful gold bike. And carrying the bike, Scott, is her father, Andrew.
Former sprinter himself. And he was coaching the Queensland Academy of Sport up there in Queensland, and now gone back to New Zealand to look after his daughter as part of the national program as well. So the 26-year-old from Christchurch, 2 gold medals at the Paris Olympic Games.
And there she is. She has a wonderful approach, a very calm approach to racing. They do say that the best champions emotionally regulate themselves well, and I think Elise Andrews is a great example of that. Mina Sato, familiar face for Australians, holding her up with Jason Niblett.
National coach of Japan, Jason Niblett from Horsham, the Wimmera Wonder in Western Victoria, about 3 hours out of the capital city of Melbourne. But Mina Sato, the 27-year-old, back-to-back Keirin world champion in 2024-2025.
She was the fastest qualifier this morning, 10.329. On paper, we would say she should be comfortable to go through. She beat Alessia McCabe, the young Australian, in 2 straight to progress through to the semi-finals. Sato has really grown in confidence, and you can tell that with the way that she rides. She's a lot more comfortable giving a bit of distance when she's in second wheel.
This is a best-of-3 competition, so they get a real fair chance. If you do lose this first one, you can come back and try and force 2 more races to get the win overall. But Andrews at the bottom of the track, now starting to get up some pace. She knows how strong Sato is, the Keirin world champion, silver medalist in the world champs last year as well in this discipline, the sprint. But the Olympic champion gets to the last lap first, and now a final bit out of the saddle as they go down the back straight. Sato now steps up, the fastest qualifier. She had the speed in qualifying. Can she get around the outside of the Olympic champion though? Oh, it's going to be tight. She's not going to get there. So strong, confident ride from Elise Andrews. 4th fastest in qualifying, but when it comes to race nous, she has it in spades.
That was a sensational ride. She took a bit of a break after the Paris Olympics and has really taken her time coming back to full competition. And I applaud her for that, because I think Olympic cycles are long. There's World Championships every year, which is always such an important event. And you don't want to ride a Nations Cup, a World Cup, a World Championship, unless you know that you can perform. So well done to Elise Andrews. Mina Sato, she didn't sit around and wait for the might of Andrews. She accelerated early. She rode tactically a very smart race, but look at how strong the acceleration is from Andrews.
Sato's so wide out of that final bend. So good ride, 1 up in the best-of-3 competition in the women's sprint semi-finals here in Perth, Western Australia, for the UCI Track World Cup. Dream events happen here, and it's a dream start for the women's sprint competition for Elise Andrews. We go on to the second semi-final. Leah Friedrich from Germany, 26-year-old from Dessau, Mecklenburg, 8 times a world champion in multiple sprint events. And she's up against Yuang Liang, a 20-year-old. I'll tell you what, has been around for a couple of years now. So she was part of the silver medal winning sprint team for China back in 2022, but she's still only 20. So she was very young when she got into the national program.
Well, she broke the world record in the flying 200 metres. She was the first woman to go under 10 seconds. That was in Konya in Turkey. That record was broken this year by Emma Finucane at the same velodrome at slight altitude. But she's much younger than the other riders in this competition. Friedrich, 26, already 8-time world champion, but Li Yongwan, only 20 years of age. Excellent in the women's team sprint last night. Scott really drove that Chinese team to the gold.
Very slow first lap there for Friedrich, trying to force Wang to come to the first position. Not successful though. And when you do draw position, number 1 at the bottom of the track, you are required to take that lead position for the first half lap unless the second rider does want to overtake you. Both high on the track here now. A lot of experience in the Olympic silver medalist from Germany.
It's the ultimate test of nerves and raw speed.
Big gap though, and now Huang trying to close things down, and out of the saddle once more. Friedrich She gets into the first lap, the final lap first, and down the back straight. Look at that, out of the saddle. Both these riders trying to get again up onto maximum speed. Inside line, shortest one to the finish line. And that'll do it for Friedrich. She goes one up in the best of three. I felt like Juan had the speed, but just didn't know how to put it through into a practice.
And that's experience. Friedrich was the slightly faster qualifier this morning in a 10.45.8, Juan in the 10.5.21. So it really does, when it comes to the match sprinting, come down to experience. Juan accelerated perfectly with 1 lap to go, but she got stuck on the hip. And when Friedrich got out of the seat and also really held her spot on the track, Juan didn't have the same conviction coming into that finish. Team Germany goes 1 up in the best of 3.
A good result for Friedrich. Andrews 1 up in her race against Minasato. Friedrich 1 up against Juan. They'll come back and do it all again. And both Sato and Li Ying Juan must win the second one if they want to have a chance to go into the race for a decider, to go into gold and silver. Men's Keirin now coming up onto the track. Tate Ryan, the young Australian.
6 riders out on track for 6 laps. They've gone through first round repechage this morning.
Line up for heat number 1. First 3 will go through. Nikita Kirilitsev, Tate Ryan, Li Xiwei, Max Dornbach. Then it's Tochuk Hai from Hong Kong and Azizul Awang, 38 years of age, from Malaysia. Silver medal in Tokyo, bronze medal in Rio, world champion in Hong Kong in 2017. So much experience. But you have to be in the top 3 if you want to get another medal here.
Well, Kiriltsev and Dornbach are the 2 who progressed straight through from the first round. The other 4 have come the harder way through the repechage. So 2 fresher riders than others. The young Aussie, Tate Ryan, he's the youngest out there at 20 years of age. 3-time junior world champion, the first junior to break the 60-second mark in the kilometre. What we know that means for this kind of event, he's got some staying power. So 4 laps was his specialty. This is 6 laps.
Nikita Kirilitsev.
Only 21 years of age.
Well, he was under 19 world champion in the sprint and Keirin back in 2023. And that to win the sprint gold medal, he beat Tate Ryan into silver. So they know each other. There's Azizul Awang.
The pocket rocket man. 2017 Keirin World Championship. Max Dornbach, 30 years of age. He is a very consistent face on the World Cup and World Championship Olympic circuit. And experience goes a long way in Keirin racing. We just saw what experience can do in the women's sprint competition. This is certainly a good example of where that comes in.
6 laps of the track. First of the second round heats, the 2 heats. Top 3 to go through to the final. They ride behind the motorcycle for 3 laps, and the rider on the bike itself is Shane Perkins, former Keirin world champion himself. So it's a stacked field if you include Perkins on the motorbike.
Well, he looks rather like a Lego man in that costume, but he certainly knows what he's doing. And the riders maintain their positions, sit behind. It's a bit of a waiting game. It's a bit of a nervous game.
Let's just hope he disposes of that chewing gum that he's chomping on.
No, not
correctly.
with Keirin.
Not
yes.
with Keirin.
At
Do it
the
responsibly.
This is really the calm before the storm.
He's stopped chewing. He's focusing so hard now, Shane Perkins. And you can see the riders starting to look behind, because the bike will come off next time. 3 laps to go, and they do not want to be surprised from those riders further back.
Well, they accelerate up to 50 kilometres an hour. It starts at 30, and then they exit at the pursuit line with 3 laps remaining. So the journey is off, 3 to go.
Li Ziwei from China, and very quickly Kiriltsev goes straight over the top. And this is where you can see it's so easy to get boxed in if you leave it too late, but it's a long way to go from the front. 2 laps to go now.
And toe check from Hong Kong, China is the first to really move. The experience of Dornbach.
Dornbach goes to the front as they come to the bell. Azazul Awang behind him. Top 3 to go through. The young Australian a little bit too far back. It might be decided already as they go down the back straight. Dornbach, Awang, Kiritsev. Top 3 to go through. Tate Ryan sneaks through underneath though. So Ryan goes 3rd. And as long as it was a legal manoeuvre, we'll wait for confirmation. He could have gone through into the final as well, but Dornbach looked good.
I mean, the Australian in me says, Tate Ryan, you beauty, but I do want to see the video because ducking underneath can be a little bit tricky. Dornbach, he went straight through from the first round. His experience really shining through. Awang's as well because he just held a good wheel. He knew that he didn't need to win. He needed to be top 3. Kiriltsev, you know, he's a young rider. He's a very talented rider. But he and Tate Ryan both showing that they're young, they're edgy, they're both very capable. Awang there, the experienced elderman, 38 years old, former world champion from Malaysia, the first Malaysian ever to be a world champion in cycling. So he's a bit of a hero, hometown.
He had the comfortable ride through. Confirmation, Tate Ryan was legal and on his way through into the final. So Dornbach with a strong ride. Awang with a sedate one. He didn't have to go full gas then because he just followed Dornbach across the line in the slipstream. Easy peasy it was for him as Tate Ryan gets 3rd. And our first 3 finalists have been done. And you can see there, Awang didn't step out, wasn't desperate. He knew who was behind. And he felt comfortable to just follow the wheel of Dornbach. And there's the manoeuvre from Tate Ryan. Gap opened up. You don't have to ask him twice. Dives through to get into the final.
That was a great ride from him, but he's not going to want to use that as an ongoing tactic. That was a little bit of a Hail Mary at the end there, and it did work, but not the safest way through to the final. I'm really excited to see Kiriltsev in the future because clearly he's got the power, and when he sharpens his strategy a bit, I think he will be a real player. Dornbach showing us what experience does. And the second heat for the men's Keirin second round, and we are looking at Yakovlev. He broke the world record in the 200 in Paris, only to have it beaten the tallest man out there, Lee Hoffman, the Australian. And that is Matthew Richardson, European champion, but grew up in Perth, so a bit of a hometown for him.
Kang is in position number 3, you can see. Then it's Nikita Kalachink. It was 4th in the Keirin at the European Championships only a month ago. Matthew Richardson won that title.
And Luca Spiegel rounding out the 6.
21-year-old. His girlfriend, Lara Gillespie from Ireland, is the elimination world champion. She won a road race this week as well. She's been great form on the road. And Spiegel it is, onto the back of Shane Perkins on the motorbike. Then it's Kalachink. Next one, Kang from Chinese Taipei. And in the European Champions jersey there in 4th place, Matthew Richardson on what you would call his home boards. This is the track that he grew up racing on, but now rides for Great Britain. Then Lee Hoffman with a wrist injury. We know about that. He didn't ride in the Australian team sprint team because of that wrist injury. And then the big man from Israel, Yakovlev, 24-year-old, born in Moscow, 199 centimetres tall. And he has been a medalist in the Keirin at the World Championships previously. Don't expect him to stay in 6th position for too long.
He's the tallest rider in world track cycling, long levers and a very, very strong rider and experienced. Early to move up position, showing his intention. Hoffman still sitting back behind Richardson, top 3 through. It's a dangerous spot to be spot number 6 with 3 laps left.
Richardson second last, confident with the amount of speed that we know we have. The world record holder over 200 metres sits in second last position. Hoffman with him. Yakovlev, the big man, out in front though. Just a little kick out of the saddle to get some speed with Spiegel, perhaps the shortest in the race, or second shortest, in behind him. Here comes Richardson. So Matthew Richardson, they knew he would be coming. Yakovlev on the front into the final lap. Spiegel in second position, but Matt Richardson, the European champion, flies round the outside. He might have a trailer in tow as well because Hoffman is going to be taken into the final. Yakovlev holds on for third. Richardson, Hoffman, Yakovlev. They're into the final. That was pretty comfortable.
That was comfortable. Richardson has ridden the fastest 200 in the Keirin so far in this competition. He does look very comfortable, very controlled. Hoffman looking more comfortable than he did this morning. So I think he's really riding into this competition, which is fantastic. Now, he and Richardson shaking hands. They're mates. They know each other's riding style very well. But they used to be out there as teammates in this event, so you'd go through to a final feeling some comfort, less comfort, but the incredible speed from Yakovlev, winding it up, getting them up to full speed. Richardson and Hoffman popping over the top. Yakovlev able to hang on for third quite comfortably in the end, but look at Richardson, he's sitting up, he's looking over, he doesn't even look like he's breathing.
Putting the hands up onto the bars well before he got to the finish line. A bit of a message to all of his opponents. And the three that go through from the second semi-final were perhaps on paper the top three favourites anyway. So it went to form, but a real message there from Maddie Richardson.
Bit of a psychological battle there too, just looking over saying, hey, I didn't even try. How are you feeling? Is your heart rate high? Mine's not.
So confirmation of our three riders to go through the final as we go back to the women's sprint semi-finals. And the news is that in the second semi, Leah Friedrich was relegated in that first ride.
She did move a bit out of the sprinters lane, but we weren't able to really see whether that did in fact impede the path of Juan, the Chinese rider. But
We'll get to that in the next race as Mina Sato up against Elise Andrews. Now, this is do or die for Sato, the world Keirin champion, silver medalist in the sprint in Santiago, Chile last year. Has to win this to force a decider.
But she's won the Keirin 2 years in a row, so you can really see from her career progression that since the Paris Olympics, where Elise Andrews was so dominant, winning gold in this event as well as the Keirin, that Sato has taken it up a level, but Andrews, just incredible speed and power.
And if you look at the bike of Mina Sato, you'll see that the drive chain, the crankset, is on the left-hand side of the bike. So the Japanese Toru bicycles designed to have that crankset on the inside. There's a whole bunch of different reasons about it that the sprint's too short for me to go into and explain. But very slow pace from Sato.
Equipment, a very important part of this sport. It is not just about raw power, it's also about can you hold your nerve? Which position on the track do you want? Does Elise Andrews take the front because she doesn't want a track stand, or is it to show her dominance? She won from the front in round one, taking it from the front in round two.
Carbon copy coming into the final lap of the second of our races for the semi-final of the women. Andrews has won up in the best of three competition, wins this, and she's into the race for gold and silver. Sato, the silver medalist from the Worlds last year, has to get up around the outside, this time cleanly. She's struggling to do so. The strength of the New Zealander. Andrews, once again, 2 straight wins from her, and she's into the gold medal race. That'll be later on tonight as well, so a sensational ride, 2 for 2 for Elise Andrews.
And a throw to the line, but unnecessary in the end. She had it. Andrews, she looks pleased, she looks relieved. She has, it's not a comeback. She didn't take a big break, but she did.
Just uncertain with the form. She wouldn't have known where she was at.
That's right, and Sato has just been performing so consistently. I love Sato as a rider. She's very exciting to watch, but Andrews is just the kind of rider that provides this consistency. Look at the strength. She also holds her position very well in the sprinters lane. Her superpower, when she gets out of the seat and accelerates, it is very difficult to match. Sato cannot match the consistent acceleration. Maybe Andrews could feel her coming over the top, thought maybe I need to push, but in the end, she got there quite comfortably. The New Zealand Olympic champion through to the women's sprint final. The first that we know will ride for gold, Sato will ride for bronze.
Very long straights here at the Perth Velodrome as well, so you do have plenty of opportunity to come from behind, fight over the top down the finishing straight.
Well, it's a 250-metre velodrome. as all Olympic velodromes are, but when you say it is a long straight, the shape of the 250 metres does differ.
So with the reversal of the standings in the first matchup, Leah Friedrich must win this one to force a decider. Regardless, they will be racing, or if she does so, I should say, is they will be racing for their third race, as Huan Liang is now one up. She wins this and she'll be racing against Elise Andrews for gold and silver. Jan van Eyden, Leah Friedrich's very experienced coach, and Benoit Vertu now doing that coaching role for China. Two incredibly experienced coaches that are guiding these athletes, getting the absolute best out of them.
And Friedrich is very experienced, 8-time world champion. She knows what she's doing. Perhaps a bit of pressure knowing that Juan is such an up-and-comer at only 20 years of age. They were quite close in the qualifying this morning. 10.458 for the German, 10.521 for Liang Guan. So on pure speed, it's hard to separate them, but this is all about strategy, a bit of psychological warfare.
2 laps to go. The hunter, Friedrich, the hunted, Juan. And just closing the gap down a little bit there, Leah Friedrich. Climbing the banking as well, looking for that extra speed for free. Dive down the track, try and get up to a quicker acceleration. And the final lap, Friedrich must win this to have another opportunity to try and get into that gold and silver medal race. And the gap is quite significant here. Friedrich not looking as comfortable as we may have expected. Juan from China looks really good out in front. Friedrich's not going to get there, so Juan will get 2 straight wins. And she's going into the race for gold and silver against Elise Andrews. So the 20-year-old getting over the top of the 26-year-old from Germany. Bit of an upset, I must say.
It'll give her a lot of confidence. We had a bit of an upset in the women's team sprint last night with China beating Germany. Germany certainly came in as hot favourites after their ride at the European Championships.
Well, we can have a look at why there was the relegation in that first race. And Friedrich looked like she comfortably got the win in that one. But we might be able to have a quick look at just why that decision was changed. And regardless, in that second race, we just saw how strong Huan Liying was. As we look back, the final bend, Friedrich on the front, and she drifts out above the red line as they come into the final straight, just there.
And clearly impedes.
You're not allowed to do that.
No, if she doesn't impede the path, it's different, but that was a clear change of direction for Juan as well. That does change the speed, especially coming into the straight. So a bit of an error from Friedrich.
And this is how the second race was won. So a gifted victory in the first one, but then absolutely respectful, the better of the two in the second. So Huan Liying from China, racing for gold. What colour will it be? Up against the current Olympic champion, Elise Andrews. So a 20-year-old really racing above her maturity level and experience, but what a big star of the future she's going to be. So much room for development to come. And we saw the men's Omnium, as we see the confirmation, the race for gold, Andrews and Juan up against Sato and Friedrich for the race for bronze. And that'll be a brilliant matchup as well, it must be said. Two very experienced riders going head-to-head.
We've got some incredible depth in the women's sprint competition on a world level, certainly here at the first World Cup of the season.
So the men's Omnium is coming up, which is the second discipline within the 4-discipline Omnium event. And let's just hope the two that did crash down, I can see them both out there, Connor Leahy and Graham Frisley. They are going to be on the track, so they didn't hurt themselves too much. And that was the results of the scratch race. So 40 points to win, same for the tempo as well. 40 points to win the tempo race coming up. 38, 36 as it goes down to the last rider across the line. So it's a big uphill battle for a couple of the riders still to come. Kluger with a good result, but he saw him with no points at the first graphic, which was unusual because he was there in third place. But Frisley and Connor Leahy, 11th and 12th after crashing in that scratch race. A bit of work for them to do to climb back up the standings.
And they did have to adjust the results in the end after they finished the line. They did fall within 4 laps to go. Number 17, New Jo Lau from Malaysia. He did get a warning. The commissaires found that he caused the crash that took Leahy down. Now, when we reviewed it, it looked a bit as though Leahy had perhaps clipped, but on review, that's what the commissaires have said. So he's got a warning, another warning, and he will be out of the competition.
So the lineup in the order of the overall classification now after that scratch race and the points that were allocated.
And there is Conor Leahy, Team Australia supporting him. Sometimes some adrenaline. Let's see if we can hear what they're saying. Now, sometimes some adrenaline from a crash can really aid you, but often that does wear off at some point. So let's see how he and Frizzly go. Roger Kluge, the very experienced 40-year-old German 3-time Madison world champion. And a lurking figure sitting right behind him is Nate Peterlin, the 19-year-old, the youngest rider in the race from Slovenia.
There's Kluge, the big man. So 40 laps of the track as it was for the scratch race, but the first 4 laps, no points on offer. And then after that, every single time across the line, 1 point will be awarded to the leader. And that sounds simple, but I can tell you it gets very complicated in this one because there's only 1 point on offer. So it's going to be really challenging for the riders. They go for sprint flat out for it, finish second, get nothing other than tired legs. And then the next sprint, they can't go again. If you take a lap on the field, which often does happen in the tempo race, you get 20 points. So you go straight to the very top of the leaderboard if you can do that.
Nothing but tired legs. That's one of the least motivating considerations for the riders. It's a wonderful event to watch. And I think one of the interesting parts of it is also that in many ways the riders really have to pay attention themselves about what's going on, who's at the front, who's gotten some points. There is no point getting third, sitting in third and using energy to do that. You're better off using some energy up the front, getting some points, or saving some energy up the back and then making a hero's move in the mid to back end of the race.
Often, and even at the highest level, there'll be a rider in these first couple of laps that might just get the timing right and put in a doozy of an attack. And knowing that there's only 1 point per lap for the winner, there's a lot of hesitation. Nobody wants to work too hard to bring one solo rider back. And they might be able to spend a lot of time out the front trying to sneak off the front here. We see 2 riders. Ginger looks over the shoulders, seeing if they're going to get any room. And here comes perhaps something that'll work. As I said, the opportunity, and it's Yilmaz from Turkey that's going to pick up the first of the 1 point sprints. 36 laps to go.
And the consideration is also, you've got 2 events left to go, the elimination and the points. So you want to get as many points as you can here, but you don't want to burn yourself out. So great move from Yilmaz. If he can stay out there for a few laps or even gain a lap, that will just allow him to save some energy. Already half a lap up because this peloton, they are not reacting. Yilmaz, he is absolutely making the most of the peloton's hesitation.
Little acceleration from Graham Frizzly on the front of the peloton, but there's the second point gain there for Yilmaz. So 2 points that he'll be able to get as he's still out in front. And there is a big acceleration, which makes it hard from him. But the longer he can spend out there, of course, 1 point a time. And if you can, get that lap, it's such an advantage.
So 36 laps you can get points on of the 40. Every single lap, the rider who goes across first takes that 1 point, plus 20 if you can take a lap. For Yilmaz, if he can gain a full lap, and when the riders are up the top like that, what we're looking at the peloton right now, Yilmaz not yet in shot, that means they're not travelling at high speed. So this is really playing into the hands of Yilmaz if he can keep going. Schmidbauer, the Austrian, he's got no patience left, but Yilmaz, he's pretty comfortable out there and picking up points.
But that's the best tactic of the peloton collectively, is to go as slow as they can so the lap gets taken. And then you still got the chances to pick up the points after that. So there has been an attack off the front. Connor Leahy it is. Yilmaz gets another point gain as he comes across the start-finish line. And the acceleration, 2 riders off the front. Connor Leahy was one of them. And Adam Krennick.
If Krennick and Leahy can get a good break here and get across, they will be able to potentially pick up some points. But if they just hang out there in the middle, and the two are riding together, riding strong, but looking over their shoulder, Krennick checking, are they chasing? Are we wasting energy? Soon into shot, we will see Yilmaz, who will be, if he keeps going, gaining 20 points. But this is what we're looking at, 2nd and 3rd place at the moment. Leahy and Krennick from Czechia, just at the very back of shot there. That is our race leader, Ramazan Yilmaz from Turkey, picking up points. He's been out there from lap 36. Another point for him.
It's tough work, though.
He's not far off gaining the lap and gaining that 20 points. And then he can take a breather and he can relax a little bit. And it also means that Leahy and Krennick will be the next to get points.
And there's the catch, top of the screen with 2 leaders out in front now. Yilmaz has got to the peloton. So that means it opens up again. He goes to the outright lead, of course, with the points that he picked up while he was away. 20 points extra for taking a lap on the field. And
confirmation that he did that before the last lap, because Leahy has just gotten 2 points on the trot. So the commissaire is very quick to react, Scott.
Yep, so the points are up for grabs again. 2 riders off the front, but they're also about to get to the peloton. So they're not going to get the benefit that we saw Yilmaz be able to get, be out there for so often or so long to pick up as many points as he was able to. And you can see at the back, they've just backed off now. The 2 riders that are out in front, they don't want to catch the peloton just yet. Connor picks up another point.
Well, that's a game to play, though, isn't it? Because if there is a strong acceleration from the front and a bit of fatigue from Krennick and Leahy, that can be dangerous. But they're close enough now that they will, the commissaires will say they have gained. And there we go. You can see the front join the back. 3 riders have gained all the points thus far at the halfway point. Yilmaz from Turkey leads, Leahy from Australia in 2nd, Krennick from Czechia in 3rd, and we are back to watching the front of the peloton.
Flip-flop, front to back, but it's Yilmaz that leads on 30 points. Connor Leahy with 23, 22 for Krennick, and the first non-lapping the field rider to score a point was Wu from China, and now it's also Feng Li from Chinese Taipei with 1 point as well. So another point gain there as Wu comes across the line. He goes to 2 points, sits in 4th position overall.
And Wu looking to go solo. You can see the big gap that has appeared, about 80 metres there. But Graham Frisley, he's making the move across. Not a big reaction from the chasing peloton. Even though Krennick is not letting them just ride away, he's also not really turning on the pace.
So peloton not in an organised chase at all. Frisley gets out to Wu, so 2 out in front, but Wu picked up the 1 point across the line. And now it's an opportunity for Frisley to try and start getting some points.
And it's important when you have a 2-up with Wu and Frisley that they share the points. Otherwise, Frisley's not going to continue to ride if Wu comes across the top for the points. And that's what we have seen. Frisley gets his first point on the board. There are now 6 riders who have scored points. Of the riders who don't score points, it will then be judged, the final ranking, on who crosses the line in that final sprint. So it is still important. But Frisley and Wu, in the back there, you can see a big gap back to the chasers, but we'll just see coming into shot now, the 2 leaders are not far off gaining the lap and gaining that 20 points.
Spread out all the way around the track now. They are the 2 leaders, Wu and Frisley.
And Sun Wu Chu from Hong Kong, China, he is the next to move, not yet in the points because that 2-up of Wu and Frisley have not yet joined the back of the peloton, but he's putting himself out there with 12 laps left to go.
And we did see Graham Frizzley, as he went down the back straight, look up at the electronic scoreboard just to get a quick glimpse at where everybody stands on points. And you can see they're just cruising up to the back of the peloton here now. So another point gain there for Wu as they come across the line. He's on 6 points, Frizzley on 3, and they'll get an extra 20 each as they reach the peloton.
And this will catapult Wu up because he got 6 points while he was out there before he took the lap. So that puts him into second. Yilmaz from Turkey leads on 30. Wu in 26 from China. Leahy on 23. Frizzley on 23 from Australia, then USA. And Krennic is in 5th on 22 points. 7 riders with points now.
So just going through the bottom of the screen is the new race leader from Chinese Taipei. So that is Yingfeng Li.
Petelin, the youngest rider in the race from Slovenia. He doesn't want to let it go, but he doesn't want to do all the work either.
From Hong Kong, I should say, my apologies. Hong Kong rider that went off the front while Frizzley and Wu were picking up all their points.
Well, Su Wai-Chu has been out there for a while, but he hasn't been accruing points because they weren't a lap up yet. So he will come around now.
So the next rider to take a lap on the field in the light blue colours of Hong Kong, Chu, just about to get on there, but you can see how much the peloton is stretched. So that final little acceleration, he picks up a point. He's still leading as he goes through, or they've already given the lap to him.
And our race leader now, we will see him soon, number 24 from Venezuela, is Clever Martinez Moros. Now, he made his World Championship debut at the age of 35 last year in Santiago.
Chu in the light blue colours at the back of the peloton, really in trouble here. Now, I feel that he was a little bit of injustice there for Chu because he wasn't in contact with the peloton and they already gave him the lap gain. So he missed 1 point that he probably should have had and now still struggling to actually stay in the race.
Now that's Martinez we're seeing on the front of the peloton here, but just off camera is Roger Kluger, who we just saw pass over the back straight, has accelerated away. He is now on the march, not just for single lap points, but 20. 2 laps to go. He really needs to make a big push if he wants to get these 20 and catapult himself up the standings.
There's the big man, Roger Kluger. 3rd in the scratch race, good points there. 36 points from the scratch race placing. Trying to pick up some points here. Final lap now. And it'll be Roger Kluger that'll pick up the final points, and that'll give him a chance to move up. He's in 7th place overall at the moment, but Yilmaz is not going to lose this one. So many point gains that he was able to get while he was out there for so long. Final sprints, just to make sure if you haven't got any points or if you're on equal points, this final sprint is desperate. You have to finish as high as you can. So that was a good sprint from Petelin to make sure that he's the best of the rest of the riders that don't have any points at all. Roger Kluger picking up the final point across the line. So Yilmaz wins the tempo race ahead of Wu. Then Chu, Connor Leahy from Australia in 4th on the same points as Frizzley. But I do think he crossed the line ahead of Frizzley in that final sprint, so he will get 4th place points with Frizzley in 5th.
Now, Imamura, who won the first round, we didn't say his name at all because he didn't earn a single point. This is really going to upend and bring this whole race together. The classification after the second round will be, instead of being clearer than the first round, it's now a little bit more of a mess. I'm glad to see Connor Leahy and Graham Frizzley both doing well then. They fell in the first race, but clearly they've, in the scratch race, they've...
So Roger Kluger picked up the last couple of points. That put him up into 7th place overall. He desperately needed that to make sure he stays in contention. But as you say, Kate, with Imamura not getting any, he finished down in 12 points. So that's going to be a real challenge for him to stay at the top of the leaderboard. But good race from Yilmaz, Wu and Chu.
There is a lot to love about a men's Omnium and a women's Omnium. They are such exciting races. Each race in and of itself is very exciting to watch. But when you put them all together, and that was just fantastic. It shows what an even field of talents there are. And also the Omnium is built where they're all very talented, but with slightly different attributes, and each races suit them a bit differently.
The final sprint, Roger Kluger picked up the last couple of points for the final few laps. So a desperate move at the end to make sure that he did get some points. He'll be very strong in the elimination and the points race as well. So that keeps himself very much in the hunt in terms of the overall classification.
And Kluger shows his experience there by being efficient. He thought when he moved that maybe he could get that lap. It didn't play out. Petelin from Slovenia, he's been really consistent, and I'm really pleased to see the 19-year-old. But Roger Kluger, most experienced out there. Let's see how these points table rebalances. The commissaires will send that through. They do have to review the footage, make sure everything is in order. And you can see the riders straight away going for the hydration, cool water bottles, trying to lower that core temperature. They don't have to lower the muscle temperature. That is smoking hot with the conditions.
That's New Joe Lau, who does have a warning for the crash that happened in the scratch race. So he needs to be on best behaviour in the next 2 races, the elimination and then the final points race for the men's Omnium. We did see in that slow-mo replay there of the finish, Frizzley did actually finish in front of Connor Leahy. So they're both on 23 points, but that meant Frizzley finishes with the 4th place points overall and Connor with the 5th place. So a 2-point difference between those two.
I mean, in the last race, it was the other way around, so that puts them on even footing.
And totally random, the bottom of the picture there, you'll see Uzbekistan. That's the national coach for Uzbekistan. He's actually German. Joachim Dornbusch, or Yodo. My mechanic back in the 6 days, a long time ago. Been a national coach and a professional women's team coach as well.
Yes, he was a very well respected and known coach on the women's road cycling scene. Had a lot of success across a number of eras. And what a beautiful sight that is, a plane over the top of the beautiful city of Perth. We are out in the in the eastern suburbs, but we're looking at the beautiful sunset there over the Indian Ocean. To our east is the beautiful Swan Valley, and out on that horizon, a little bit further, is Rottnest Island. You can go and see a quokka. You can go to Cottesloe Beach. We went down there today. Absolutely glorious.
Women's Madison is coming up onto the track next. Only 6 teams in this, so this will be a real tactical battle. And unfortunate to see a limited field, just with the challenges that are happening globally at the moment. Not everyone able to get the full quotas of athletes to the venue, but it's a race and it'll be on. So Australia, Czechia, Hong Kong, Japan, Mexico and Spain. See the Mexicans here, Acevedo, Irelli, she won the women's elimination yesterday. And Sofia Ariello. There's the combinations, Australia, Czechia, Hong Kong, Japan, Mexico and Spain. For the Aussies, it's Alyssa Pilates with Maeve Plouffe. Czechia with Barbara Nemakova and Sefikova. Then we see Li Zi Wing with Luang Wing Yi for Hong Kong. Japan, Mayo Kakita and Tatsuka Uchino. That's probably the combination, I think, that really leaps off the page for me. And the Spanish team, as we've already mentioned, the Mexicans, the Spanish is Eva Anguilla and Isabella Escalera. There's Pilates for the Aussies, number 1.
Australia and...
That's not Maeve Plouffe.
It is not. No, that's Kira Will.
Yeah, so our start list has Maeve Plouffe, but we can tell that that is Kira Will. They do have up until half an hour before each race to change the lineup. So we got our start list at 32 minutes before the start of the Madison, clearly. We're underway, Women's Madison, 120 laps, only 6 teams. This is going to be a game of chess with such a small field.
Well, it's organised chaos at its most thrilling. Teams of 2 riders, and they share the racing over 120 laps, 30 kilometres, 5-3-2-1 per sprint, and the final sprint with double points, 20 points for gaining a lap. Their exchanges are by hand sling, but in regulation they only have to touch the other rider, but there is an advantage from the hand sling to propel the other rider forward.
Japan doing the first of the slings. really good combination, the Japanese team. So they will be very difficult to beat. Young combination of the Australians, Pilates and Kira Will, both very capable riders, gutsy riders, I must say. So Japan, so sprint every 10 laps. This will be a real sprint tactical battle, I feel. With the limited field, it's pretty easy to cover the attacks and very difficult to do a surprise attack. So we'll wait to see what happens after the first sprint. After those sprints is always the best time to go on the attack. Pilates comes in for Australia.
Australia and Japan, the only two of these teams that qualified a team for the Paris Olympics. That just gives you an idea of just how critical and important these Track World Cups are.
Almost a missed change with only 6 teams, and yet almost a missed change there for Czechia.
Czechia's a young team. Nemkova only 21 years of age, not a huge amount of international experience. This is where they learn. This is where they learn the craft of it and they cut their teeth. And you will know, Scott, the international experience required to really learn the craft of Madison racing is extensive. Every single race is just another dollar in the money jar.
Limited opportunities to gain experience in Madison's. I know with several of the countries, they said they've been doing lots of training, so at high speed training changes, etc. But in a race situation, it's very different with the whole peloton around you. Mexico with their change, Spain, second position for them. Then it's the Aussies, Japan, Czechia and Hong Kong. And we're getting closer to the first of our intermediate sprints. So you can see the pace just picking up a little bit as Kira Will sits on the front.
Only 20 years of age, from New South Wales in Australia, but exceptionally talented young rider. Oh, and a bit of a touch of shoulders between Team Czech and Hong Kong China. Both riders staying up, but a bit of a movement underneath from Hong Kong China.
And the first sprint is about to happen. You can just see Hong Kong with an awkward change, and they are into the first of our intermediate sprints now, down underneath, so that's how close it gets. And it's Japan, as expected. Strong combination that have a lot of experience getting the timing right off their change. They'll pick up the first 5 points on offer. Mexico will get 3 for second. It was Australia coming through to get 2 points for third, followed by Hong Kong, 1 point for them in fourth place.
And Sayuka Uchino from the Japanese pairing taking those points. The Mexican team is a really interesting team. Certainly, Sofia Arreola is one of the more experienced riders in the field at 34 years of age, but a long competition history. She's the first Mexican woman to ever get 2 medals at a world championship. 2 silver medals they were, so she's got a long history. That was in 2013. The Madison relatively new for the women's field. It has been such a pleasure to watch their skills increase and see some of the incredible pairings form. But we do have a few new pairings out there tonight, and it's wonderful to watch them form. Australia, we expected to be a bit different. And here is what we saw earlier with Team Hong Kong China running directly into Team Czechia. Both of them, a bit of an awkward change from Team Hong Kong China. Czechia just moving down the track at that exact moment. They both did well.
That was good skills.
There was no incident, actually. It would have been very easy for both of them to get knocked off.
That was incredible they didn't crash. So they just hit shoulders at the right time. Any other part of the body, if a Hong Kong rider was a little bit further forward or a little bit not quite as much, that would have been disastrous.
And I can confirm in those moments, you do, yee! There's a bit of a noise that escapes. You know when you are lucky. A lot of adrenaline coming out. And you'll notice that the riders, one rider from each team will have a black number, one rider will have a red number. And that makes it easier for both the crowd and if you're playing along at home, but also for the commissaires to identify which of the team, should there be any race incidents, and they can follow that. Team Australia, sorry.
I can confirm in those incidents it's a different sound that I make, which I won't repeat online. Yeah. 3 wide they are because they're coming up towards the next sprint. So you see the shuffle. This happens in the final 2.5 laps or so before each of the intermediates. So it's 102 laps to go. The bell will be the next time around. But this is how soon the fighting and the jockeying for position comes. Even though there's only the 6 teams, and diving down to the top there, Mexico coming in for their change. Pilates trying to get onto the outside. It's very important to go around the outside of each of the changes. And it will be Czechia out of the saddle coming into the second of our intermediate sprints. Big gap back to Japan, but they are fast finishers.
Barbara Nemkova from Czechia, a very good road rider as well, Czech champion. Ooh, but over the top, another win for Team Japan. And Uchino again. They're doing a very good job of the timing. Kakita is throwing Uchino in right on the last lap. Scott, that's a really good tactic when one of the riders is a little bit handier in the sprints and the other in between to create some balance.
So Japan, Czechia, Australia and Hong Kong. So the one team that was in the first sprint but not the second was Mexico. But a good double up there for Japan. 10 points for them, 2 5-point sprint gains. So they were the pre-race favourites, and they're so far with a perfect score.
Team Australia is starting to ride with a bit more confidence. A last-minute change of combination with Kira Will replacing Maeve Plouffe. Kira Will, the youngest rider out on track at 20 years of age. Alyssa Pilates, 23. Got a lot of national championships under her belt. They're both real up-and-comers, but still gaining international experience.
Change on the front. And no attacks just yet. That sprint battle that I mentioned seems to be unfolding that way. But as they get deeper into the race, the teams that don't think that they've got the speed to do battle head-to-head against the Japanese team, they really do need to start looking at ways that they can get off the fronts and try and pick up some points by attacking. Expect Japan in those moments to be very quick to react, though, to any of those movements.
Kira Will hits the front for Australia. She's wearing a black helmet. Pilates wearing a white helmet, so you can easily tell them apart. We'll come around 3 laps until there's points. And some movement from Team Mexico. Acevedo and Areola. Acevedo showed some real strength in the women's elimination last night.
You can see, look across the track just to see where a partner is. She needs to understand how much tempo she needs to apply because the next sprint is coming. Kira Will wants to be right at the very front for it when she makes her change to Alyssa Pilates. The bell will come now at 91 to go. Good change as Pilates comes in. Czechia trying to come over the top. They will get there. Or no, they won't, because Pilates is going to fight back on the inside. Really strong performance here from Alyssa Pilates. She'll pick up the 5 points here for Australia. Czechia will get 3. And the crowd loved it as they come across the line. The first time we've seen a team not from Japan picking up the maximum points. Third sprint, Aussie get 5.
Consistent ride from both Australia and Czechia. Japan's still leading, but Czechia, they are mixing up who is sprinting between Nemkova and Sevchikova. And here's the change. This is a clean change from a young team.
And you can see in that they're not grabbing the hand. So Kira Will didn't actually reach out and physically close her hand and grab Alyssa Pilates. It's more of a sling. You wrap the hand around each other, and that gives the rider that's being thrown into the race an opportunity to actually let go.
And technique is so important.
There's a problem, yeah. Oh, there's so much to be gained. Several kilometres per hour and extra speed can be gained off a good sling. And that was pretty much perfect, I must say. Good setup.
We do see some missed turns, especially in the hustle and bustle amongst the group. But if you get most of them right, then you're doing pretty well. Team Czechia, they put a lot of energy in there to come away with the 3 points. The standings, Japan on 12, Australia on 9, Czechia on 6, Hong Kong and Mexico 3 points apiece. Team Spain yet to hit the leaderboard. but still 85 laps left to go.
Well, possibly waiting. We'll see if Spain have the energy to go on the attack later. They might be thinking they're not going to be competitive in the sprints, and they might be able to take a lap, same as it was in the tempo race we saw in the men's Omnium. 20 points for a lap gain in the Madison. Or it could be that they are just on the edge and desperately trying to stay in the field. We'll wait and see with Spain. They go to the back of the field once again.
And it's worth remembering, these are long races. There is a lot of strategy. There's a lot about efficiency. There is no point using any energy unless it directly contributes to earning points.
Really messy change by the team from Spain. Right on cue as we're talking about what tactics they might be able to employ. With a change like that, it'll be a challenge.
It's a young team, 22 and 23 years of age. They didn't qualify for the last Olympics, but they are certainly looking to qualify for the next and the World Championships.
So the next sprint coming up, it'll be at 81 laps to go as they go down the back straight, and Pilates once again on the front of the peloton. Japan high with a late change. And here comes Keirin Will. So the Australians will come to the bell in second position as Mexico just pops over the top. Wait for the rush from Japan if they have anything in the legs. Here they come now. 3 wide, 4 wide for Japan, and out down the back straight. Keirin Will from Australia trying to hold on, but Japan once again with another 5-point sprint win. They are showing some dominance here in the women's Madison.
They've won 3 of the 4 sprints so far. Team Japan very consistent. Australia really starting to improve their consistency as well. Czechia, no points there for them, so that advantages Australia further. Japan on 17, Australia on 12. They're the 2 standouts at the moment.
So Uchino once again picking up the maximum points for Japan. She has been the one every time that they've gone to for the sprints. If you're an evenly matched team, it doesn't really matter too much. So they're on the front now, not wanting to waste too much energy. They've got a commanding lead as we see the change here from the Japanese pairing as Uchino comes in. You see just the reach around and a little bit of time to have a conversation. How you doing? What you have for lunch? Doesn't matter. Let's get back into it. Looking very comfortable out there, the Japanese team.
They're the most experienced team. Japan and Australia are the only 2 with a big history of this 6 at international level in Madison's, but a different pairing for the Australians than we've previously seen. Usually we've seen Georgia Baker and Alexandra Manley. They are both racing in the World Tour scene on the road at the moment. A wonderful opportunity for some development for Keirin Will and Alyssa Pilates. Spoilt for choice when you have that kind of depth. Keirin Will, the youngest out on track at 20 years of age. And Sofia Arreola from Mexico is the most experienced rider at 34.
74 laps to go. Japan lead, 5-point advantage now, so a full 5-point sprint advantage they have over the Australians.
.73 laps left to run. They started with 120, so if your maths is even basic, you can say it's not halfway yet. Anything can still happen.
And with each of these accelerations, often you'll see the teams that perhaps technically not that great unable to stay with them and then fight back on after the sprints. But they've all stayed pretty closely together here as we see Japan once again getting themselves set up this time. They've had to come from behind a couple of times. This time they want to go out in front. Great change from them as we've already seen them do. Czechia in second place. But they're in the slipstream. If Czechia can bring this one home, there's a real chance. It's Memikova. Up onto the wheel of Uchino, but Uchino has been so strong, looking down under the shoulder just to make sure that she's got enough to get the win. Australia for 3rd and Spain get their 1st point. So hats off, Spain with 1 point there.
Welcome to the bike race, Espanol. I like seeing new combinations find their feet. And internationally, this pairing of Anguilla and Escalara They are new, 22 and 23 years of age. Took them a little bit of time to find their confidence. They have had a few changes that have been a little bit white-knuckled, but they're cleaning up and the results flow through. A 4th place, 1 point, but getting on the board is important. Japan still in a commanding position, but Australia, Czechia, Hong Kong, China still very much in the hunt for the gold medal.
Japan looking as if they are on their way towards that gold. Australia need to do something to change that, though. 67 to go. .66 laps to go in the women's Madison here, and it's Japan in control. 22 points, comfortable margin back to Australia in second. Czechia in 3rd place on 9 points. We saw Spain pick up their 1st point in that final sprint. So just starting to find their way here in the women's Madison. But Japan really showing they have the strength and the speed, and of course the tactical nous to put themselves in the right position just at the right time for each of those intermediate sprints.
It's a great combination. They're young, 21 and 23 years of age, but Kikita was a former footballer, national level footballer, but she was recruited into cycling through a talent ID program. The Chino, well, she played basketball through school until she really started to shine on the bike. This combination was the Madison pairing at the last Olympics, and they are building in consistency. They've had some great results, both at junior world championship level and also at the Asian track championships. That experience is really showing up on that points standing at the moment.
Pilates off the change of Kira Will moves up into 2nd position, and the next sprint coming. You can see the urgency, the body language changes as they start to really accelerate. Change from Hong Kong, and they're caught down underneath at 62 laps to go. So the halfway point is about to happen, and Japan also looking to move up as well. So Czechia, Australia, Japan, Hong Kong, Mexico, Spain, as they've been for most of this, back in 6th position. But a good acceleration here from Czechia. Stefikova down the back straight, and 2 teams coming at her back wheel really quickly. Side by side, Australia and Japan. These are the top 3 teams in this one, and it's another 5 points going to Japan. 3 for Australia was Kira Will this time doing the sprint. And a really long sprint from Czechia, and only the 2 points that they got from it.
That was a smooth ride from Japan, and also Kira Will capitalising there as well. Sevakova is the faster of the 2 Czechia riders, and you can see she just ran out of speed. Kira Will in great position to come over the top, but the experience of the Japanese team meant an efficient ride to get those 5 points.
She was also lucky that Uchino wasn't slightly in front of her shoulder, because if it was me, and if that was the scenario, I would have ran Kira Will straight into the back.
It was nearly a Kira Will hamburger there. That was a little bit squidgy, but everybody's safe. And a lot of respect between the riders as well. I think some of your experience in 6-day racing and yes, it can be a bit of a wild world in some of the Madisons.
I was always safe, always respectful, looking out for my opponents.
And your colleagues, would they say the same?
Well, if we're talking about my Madison partner, Brett Aiken, from the Olympics, no. No. He didn't care. He used to open gaps that were not existent. So Alyssa Pilates leads, 55 laps to go as they come round to the line this time. That'll just flick over. So Pilates, really good rider, Pilates. She really does like to be aggressive and attack. It's just perhaps the peloton's a little bit small for her to be able to try and sneak off the front and get away from Japan.
Well, she's smart. She looks over her shoulder. She makes sure that she can do a clean change with Kira Will. The word efficiency keeps coming up, but you don't want to waste any energy unnecessarily. If it's not directly contributing to points, there's no real point doing it. It is a mistake that young riders make because you're kind of keen and you're eager and you really want to get stuck into it. But patience goes an awfully long way, especially in these longer endurance events.
Li Xingwing drifts around the outside for Hong Kong. And that's Ariola from Mexico. Kira Will from the Australian second position. Another sprint coming, 52 laps to go, and you can see every time out of the saddle, urgency coming onto the faces of these riders as they look for their partners around the track, and it's very important for those partners to make sure they come in just at the right time. Australia gets squeezed back. That's not going to help them in this sprint. They'll really struggle to get points. Kira Will trying to find her way through the traffic. Out in front, it's Mexico. We haven't seen too much from them. Down in fifth place with 4 points. Japan, though, are hunting for more points. Over the top for them, and it's Uchino again once more. It is. So 5 points for Japan. Good point haul there for Mexico in second place. 2 points for Spain. And we'll see Australia just come into the picture at the moment as they try and limit the damage, because they really messed up in that last sprint, just got a little bit lost.
Well, and Acevedo is the reigning world champion in the points race, the first Latin American woman to do so. So incredible athlete, but still she is young, 24 years of age, riding with the experience of Ariola, but they're a new pairing still finding their way.
The atmosphere in the velodrome in Santiago when she won, anyone from Central or South America that got a good result there in Chile, Santiago, it was just outrageous. It was so amazing, the atmosphere. They got behind everyone. And it was the same for when she won that women's points race. Picked up some points there. 7 points it is now for the Mexican team. Fourth place. There's a real chase here for the bronze medal. They're still in the hunt against Czechia. Gap really opening up, though, between gold and silver. But with double points on the final sprint, they've been racing for 5, 3, 2 and 1 every 10 laps. But that final sprint, 10, 6, 4 and 2, almost always at World Cup and World Championship Olympic Games competition in the women's Madison, changes the outcome in that final sprint.
Japan has a comfortable lead at this point, 14 points over Australia on 32. But still a ways to go, nearly 2/3 into the race.
So Pilates it is once more for the Australian team, from 6th all the way up around the outside.
She is known for wanting to attack. You mentioned it earlier, she's quite an aggressive rider, quite tenacious. It is a bit more difficult when you have a smaller field. You don't get as much recovery when you're not on the front or in the sprints. But you can see that trademark tenacity going to the front, forcing the pace, because they will come around in 2 more laps to get the bell. More points on offer. But Team Japan now, they look to be sitting quite close to the Australians on all occasions, riding defensively in the back half.
Sofia Ariola from Mexico. And immediately Kakita, knowing the next sprint's coming up, gets ready for the change. Uchino comes in once again. It'll be Kira Will for the Australians. Spain sitting in 3rd place. An opportunity for them to pick up some more points. They only have 3, but they are looking to go really good here. They're really starting to improve the Spanish team as Japan go down the back straight once more. Another 5-point haul for them. This will be a really good one for Spain to pick up the 3 points. Australia with 2, and Hong Kong once again up into the points. 1 point for them, 4th place.
Japan consistent, Spain improving. Good to see Australia still consistently there. Hong Kong, China, they're certainly not giving up.
So it's not always about just having absolute speed. It's about positioning, isn't it, right? So we saw there with Eva Anguilla just getting up onto the Japanese wheel, towed across the line in 2nd place. So if you can ride good position, you still have an opportunity to collect some points in this women's Madison.
Team Czechia, small gap opening up, but not by design. Just rolling through. Kira Will, hot on the heels of Sevchikova.
All back together once more. 37 laps to go as they come into the home straight once more.
Sevchikova has a bit of experience on the track in the bunch races. She rode the Champions League in the endurance category for a while, for a number of years, for 2 seasons. She was the only rider from Czechia, the only female rider in that category. So a great honour for her. She's spoken publicly about really valuing the high level of competition and how important it is to do events like Champions League, like World Cups. She finds it a real honour to represent her country, and we can see that in her style of riding.
Shuffle within the peloton there. The Australians desperately following Japan wherever they move. And we'll see further down, equal fourth place, Hong Kong and Mexico. Both those teams still only 4 points away from Czechia in the bronze medal position for now. So there's still an absolute chance that there are 3 teams racing for the bronze. Australia with a comfortable 9-point advantage over Czechia.
But that last sprint, so much can change in that final sprint because of double points. So Australia will really want to solidify that gap. Japan, certainly the most comfortable. They can move from offensive to defensive to keep at the top of the medal table. But Australia, they need to just chip away if they want to get some more confidence around that silver medal.
Well, the Aussies are familiar with the Japanese pairing. They've won the Australian Madison Championship previously as well. You can't get the Aussie champions jersey, but they can win the race as an open international event. And the next acceleration is about to come because the 31 laps to go will be the next time they come across the start-finish line. Mexico with an acceleration. Anguilla from Acevedo, I should say. Good change from Japan, though, in second position. So off that exchange, the acceleration into the slipstream, they should be able to comfortably come over the top. But Alyssa Pilates wants to go over the top of all of them. So the Australians desperately hunting some points here. It'll be 3, though, as another comfortable sprint win for Japan. Czechia in third. And behind, perhaps the biggest gap we've actually seen open up from the sprints. So the riders are really starting getting fatigued now. You can see there, 3 teams off the front, the top 3 on the leaderboard, and the other 3 desperately trying to keep up.
And this is where you think about tactics. If they're going to burn a lot of energy pushing this group of 3 away, for what? Because the 3 of them sit on the top of the table and consistently performing, earning those sprints. It's a shame for Team Australia that they couldn't put Japan between them and Team Czechia. On the other hand, Team Czechia very happy that there was no gap, minimising the point loss. 10 points now between silver and bronze. Certainly, that is still a tight enough competition that can change in these final 27 laps.
And it's the Mexican pairing that struggled the most after that sprint. So a bit of kudos there for Spain, sitting in 6th position. But they were able to close the gap down really quickly there. So the top 3, no need for them to push on with that one. They're already in the top 3. No advantage gained for any of those 3 teams.
And a reminder that individually credentialed riders even individually credentialed riders, when they come together as a Madison pairing, it doesn't always work. Team Mexico, they're both very accomplished. World champion last year for Acevedo. Ariola has been on the podium multiple times in the bunch events, but they need to find their groove together. There's a lot of reasons the Federation would have faith in this pairing.
Of course, World Cup points very important in the Madison as we get closer to the World Championships for selection, qualification quotas, and then as we go further forward towards Los Angeles 2028, very important to have the required points, and the Madison's very important to get those. 23 laps to go. Pace comes off once again. And it's been a sprint festival. Hong Kong on the front. And you can see the pace coming up once again as the next sprint is not too far away. 22 laps to go. They get the bell the next time around. All about positioning once more. Japan on the outside.
Kakita not content with the lead they have already amassed. They are on the hunt for more points in this sprint.
You see how challenging it is for the teams on the outside trying to change over the top of those teams in front. They have to go so wide to get around the outside, and that's why that gap has opened up so significantly. Another sprint win for Uchino. Japan taking the 5 points. Good little points haul for Hong Kong. And look at the gap back to the rest, and that was just because it was so messy coming to the bell with those two teams of Japan and Hong Kong changing on top of each other, pushing everyone wide.
And there's a real prescriptive methodology coming out of Team Japan. Kikita with a lap to go, throws in Uchina. She sprints, takes the points. It's working beautifully. Australia was out of the points in that sprint. That's lessened the gap between Australia and Czechia, very much keeping that silver medal position open. Team Hong Kong China, they have started to really move their way up the points tally. And with third place in that last sprint, that puts them in fourth, but only 5 points adrift of Czechia.
And with Czechia off the back here, if the pace stays on the front, and that's why Mexico have gone off the front, because they could see that Czechia are in a little bit of trouble, and there's an opportunity for Mexico to really step up here.
They can smell the podium with 16 laps to go. And this is where Team Mexico, as individual riders, they are both used to riding away in a points race, seeking points. This is their moment of strength. It's interesting what we're seeing play out, though, Scott, because Team Japan, despite their dominance, they want none of it. They will not let Mexico go anywhere. At this point, Mexico could get a lap or two and still potentially not catch Team Japan. But they're not just here to win, they're here to win conclusively.
14 laps to go. Big push from Mexico. Japan equal to the challenge. Then it's Hong Kong and Australia desperately struggling to try and keep themselves in. And they'll come through to get 13 laps to go now, and this will really change the overall standing. Still 5 points to come on the next sprint, then double points on the last. So 15 points can be gained in these next two sprints. A lap gain could also happen here, which is 20 points for that. So Hong Kong looking to try and move up. Mexico could leapfrog both Hong Kong and Czechia and get up into the bronze medal position. And that team from Czechia, we've seen them so much. But there has been a mischange from Japan, so it's just caught off camera. That's why Japan are a little bit further back from Mexico here. They were struggling to make that changeover. So the penultimate sprint with 11 laps to go. Mexico down the back straight, cruising through most of this, and then now they've just thrown a grenade into the peloton and changing the overall standings completely. They pick up the 5 points. 3 points for Japan. Scrambling for third place was Mexico. Australia come through with 1 point, and Czechia no points at all, and possibly about to go a lap down. So they'll go from the bronze medal position to off the podium.
And this is a very dangerous position for Australia's silver medal and Czechia's current bronze, because Team Mexico are about to take a lap on Team Czechia. The commissaires, when they call that, that will give a 20-point boost to Team Mexico and catapult them right up into second position. It took 100 laps to crack them, but Team Mexico has been patient and they have absolutely thrown a cat amongst the pigeons.
So one more sprint to come, and both Spain and Czechia lose a lap to our leading two teams. Change being made there from Japan, and they just have eased off a little bit. Might be opportunity for Hong Kong and Australia to try and rejoin this group.
And an interesting distinction that they are a lap down rather than Mexico being a lap up. So that is a commissaire's call. You could see as we saw the shot past the start-finish line, there is a commissaire who will point at the front of the race as it gets quite busy to make sure not just the fans and us, but also the riders know what is going on. And that is what we are seeing right now. Team Mexico, they're on a mission. Where is Team Australia?
Well, that's why they're trying to go as hard as they can here, because Australia can't be beaten in terms of the final sprint, in terms of that silver medal position. But if they get caught by Mexico here, that's where they lose the silver medal. So Mexico absolutely hunting down the Aussies, really pushing Japan, once again following them. But I don't think they're going to get back to the Aussies. They're only the length of the straight behind.
This is an incredible show from Mexico. We've talked about their individual credentials. We've also talked about how as a team it's taken Well, it took them about 100 laps to really find their groove, but my goodness, didn't they? Team Australia in absolute strife here. On the line for them is the silver medal. Japan in a comfortable position to take the gold, but what can Mexico claw back in these final 2 laps?
A lap and a half to go. Mexico absolutely motoring with Japan in tow as they come around to get the bell. 10 points on offer. 10, 6, 4 and 2 for the final sprint. And you see Czechia trying to desperately go with those 2 teams as well. But Mexico motoring down the back straight. The final sprint is up. Japan have not offered any assistance at all to Mexico here. They've been on the attack. And they'll get across the line to pick up the 10 points. So a comfortable victory for Japan in the end. Australia will hold on for the silver medal, desperately so, the last 5 or 6 laps. And Mexico put themselves up from 5th place and into the bronze medal position. So a really good back end of that race for the Mexicans. But hats off to Japan. They were the dominant force.
That was absolutely clinical from Team Japan. The most experienced pairing out on track. And an incredible ride, and by the skin of their teeth, the Australian pairing take the silver medal. Dominance from the Japanese team, but you have to give absolute kudos to the Mexican team for keeping it exciting, keeping it interesting. You never write a team off.
And almost crashing after the line.
Don't do that, Team Japan. Come on now, there's Team Mexico.
Well, it was the only real big attack of the race, but it lasted for the last 16 or so laps. And Mexico driving it home at the end, getting themselves up into the bronze medal. But Japan, as you can see in the point standings, dominated the race, the women's Madison. Australia holding on by 5 points in the silver medal position from a fast finishing Mexico. If it was a longer race, the Aussies might have been in trouble because the Mexicans were incredibly strong all the way down to the end. 4th place for Hong Kong, Czechia going from the bronze down to 5th, with Spain finishing in 6th.
And Mexico just proved that it doesn't matter if you look not amazing in the first 100 laps. You only need one big attack. That was sensational. Team Japan, the only team that weren't too concerned when Mexico made the move. But in saying that, they still went with it. They still kept their eye on the race.
So this was the very first sprint that we saw. It was 110 laps to go. And this is how they started, pretty much how they finished. Such a dominant display by Japan. Uchino taking the majority of those 5-point sprints all the way through, including the 10-point double at the end. And after offering no assistance to Mexico whatsoever on that final attack, and nor did they need to, and they had such a commanding lead, wanted to finish it off by topping and tailing, bookending the sprints here in the women's Madison, winning the first and the last for a dominant gold medal victory.
Well, they won 10 of the 12 sprints, Team Japan. So very impressive ride, and they know it. There's winning a World Cup, and then there's winning a World Cup, and that's what we just saw from that fantastic Japanese pairing, Kikito and Uchino.
Wonderful machines, the Toray carbon fibre company that makes those bikes. Very fancy display. I know there was a bit of a dispute with the Hope Lotus bikes from Great Britain, saying that they look a little bit too similar to those particular bikes, but there is a big enough difference between them. So from the endurance sprinters in the Women's World Cup to the sprinters, Mina Sato chasing a bronze medal against Leah Friedrich from Germany. So Mina will be certainly poised to try and pick up another medal here after seeing her endurance compatriots come away with gold in the women's Madison. But Friedrich, 8 times a world champion in multiple sprint disciplines. Best of 3 competition here.
Well, she's been 8-time world champion, but never in the sprint, team sprint, Keirin 500-metre time trial. She's got all the attributes, but she's hungry to stand on the top step for the women's sprint. It won't be tonight. We're looking at the race for bronze. It could be the gold medal final, though. And you could see on the name there for Friedrich a little yellow line that indicates that she's had a warning, and that was from the relegation that we saw in the semi-finals. So she's got to be on her best behaviour.
So first race in the best of 3 competition for the bronze medal in the women's sprint here at the UCI Track World Cup in Perth, Western Australia. Dream state, dream events happen here in Western Australia. This is just another one on this velodrome that did host the 2007 Track Cycling World Championships. Oh, sorry, the 1997. Go back a little bit further to when it was here.
Well, the track's been resurfaced in the last couple of years, and the Western Australian government has provided some incredible support to keep this venue going, and a world-class venue it is.
2007 was Palma, I think, Mallorca.
It was.
Right?
That was a memorable one for me, yes. It was beautiful.
Might have won a point race or something there.
Something like that. The track in Mallorca is glorious, but very different shape to this beautiful track here in Perth. Very long straights. So some of the sprinters, if they don't know the track well, can mistime it. But the German team, they've been here for 4 weeks preparing.
Plenty of time to prepare on this track. They know it very well, the German team. Minasato, the Keirin world champion, silver medalist at the sprint last year at the World Champs, and Friedrich. She's had so many victories down the back straight. Here comes Minasato up into the slipstream, but she has struggled to get around the outside of Elise Andrews. Can she do it this time with Leah Friedrich? No, not quite. So 1 up in the best of 3 comp here in the race for bronze for Leah Friedrich from Germany.
And a clean ride from her too. You do carry a bit of nerves when there's a relegation involved. Some riders, maybe they push the edge and do it on purpose. Friedrich is not one of those riders, so very clean ride. Big acceleration out of the seat. Sato not able to respond immediately. She doesn't really come up on the hip at all until that final 15 metres. It does look tight.
1/1000th of a second. Now, I called it pretty quickly, actually, but when you look at the actual time difference, that was minuscule.
I mean, that's why you're the expert, Scott, but look at that, like the photo finish. That is something to hang on your wall. As a rider, you tend to know.
Well, we're lucky.
Without the finish.
We're lucky because I am actually due for a new prescription with my glasses, but I was able to call that one.
Yes,
maybe
keep them
luck
on, please. Fantastic rider. Elise Andrews rolls up onto the track, confirmed for Friedrich. Best of 3. Andrews at the top of the track, held by father and coach John Andrews, the Olympic champion in this event, and the Keirin on her gold bike. If you thought she was right up the top and there was no room, well, no, indeed. Possible for one to get between Andrews and the fence. And by the way, they don't have to sit that close together. People often ask that. Do they have to be shoulder to shoulder? No, it's a bit of an intimidation tactic, a little bit of psychology going into it. But Andrews must lead as the whistle blows.
The first race for the gold medal here in the UCI Track World Cup women's sprint. Elise Andrews, the Olympic champion, up against the youngster, Wan Ling from China. But she is a budding superstar, the Chinese rider. She won the Sprint World Cup in Konya, Turkey last year.
She's only 20 years of age. She was the first woman to go sub 10 seconds. That world record has subsequently been broken, but it just shows the incredible level of talent that is coming from the young Chinese rider. Already a gold medalist here at the World Cup in the team sprint.
So a young rider against a very experienced Olympic champion. Coming into this World Cup, perhaps with slightly different ambitions and form, but at the moment, it's Andrews that leads into the final lap. The Olympic champion, but look at the speed from Wang Ling out of the saddle, both these riders, and look at the speed. Wow, right up around the outside. She'll get the downhill run into the finishing straight as well. And it's the 20-year-old that comes over the top. Huan Ling goes 1 up in the best of 3 in the race for gold, and that was impressive.
Beautifully executed. Andrews got the win in the semi-final, leading from the front, ×2, by the way, against Sato. Same tactic does not work against the might and the speed of Juan. She qualified faster, only marginally ahead of Andrews, and certainly an advantage with the speed that you can build, because she stayed quite high out of the bend, out of the banking, and really made the most of that downward charge. We saw it in the last heat with Friedrich and Sato, just how much they can gain in that final 15 or 20 metres all the way to the line. But one is one up.
Well, the question put to the Olympic champion, I'm not sure if Elise Andrews has the answer. She'll come back in the second of these pairings. It'll be a desperate must-win moment to force a deciding race. But that was a real message. The speed, dominant sprint that was. Especially considering the previous one was 1,000th of a second between them.
Yes, tight racing. Talking about tight racing, the men's Omnium, the standings after the tempo race, 2 of 4, we can see them on screen. Junji Wu from China, gee, aren't they on fire tonight? 72 points, 68 a pairing back.
Schmidbauer in 11th place. The Austrian from Vienna. Wonderful city that is. Very flat around there, I must say, though, compared to the rest of it.
That's suitable for a track rider.
Wu Jinji, our overall leader, coming into this third discipline. The 23-year-old, he also rides for the Giant Asia racing team on the road. He was third in the Chinese National Road Championships back in 2020. Second in the Criterium Championships in 2024. So a good accomplished road rider, as most of the Omnium riders are. If you go back to the 2026 Olympic champion, Elia Viviani, silver medalist there was Mark Cavendish, Benjamin Thomas in Paris. Such good road riders as well. And this is the discipline. The track endurance riders are the ones that we often see go on to fame on the road as well. Tour de France fame. You look at the team pursuit guys like Bradley Wiggins and Geraint Thomas, Tour de France winners, and also gold medalists on the velodrome as well. Riders lining up for the elimination. Frizzley in the background there in the new look at United States colours.
Yeah, they're a little bit jazzy. I like it. Junji Wu is leading on 72 points. Ramazan Yilmaz, the Turkish rider, and there's Wu, our leader.
And they don't have, the Chinese team don't have a national bike sponsor as yet, but I have noticed their endurance riders on the Pinarellos, but it's the Italian branding, the Italian livery, which I still haven't found out why that may be. But there's Graham Frizzley. He'll be good in this as well. He's actually a very good tactical rider, so we expect him to do well here in the elimination as part of the Omnium.
He's sitting in 9th at the moment on 23 points. So he had a bit of a rough start in the first scratch race with a fall.
Malaysian rider there, Joe Lau New, former speed skater, making the transition across to cycling. And he does have a warning against his name, as we see Connor Leahy being held up by Glenn O'Shea, the national endurance coach for the Aussies.
He's in 10th position, also had a fall with Frizzley in that opening scratch race, but very strong, both Frizzley and Leahy, very strong in the tempo race. So the classification was turned on its head somewhat. Imamura from Japan, he's in 6th after the tempo race, but he won the opening scratch race, and we thought, oh, we are in for a show. But he is known for being very strong in the first half of an Omnium. Let's see if he can back it up.
He had a shocker, it must be said, in the tempo. So this is the race where we look at the back of the peloton. Every 2 laps, and this is the first of our elimination laps. Last rider across the line will be eliminated, and it's Gustaf Johansson, the 26-year-old from Falkenberg in Sweden, that's in the danger zone now. He does live in Mallorca, so he wouldn't mind the heat that's happening here in Perth at the moment, but he has to get over the top. Ooh, I think he might have just held on then. High on the track.
Arguably the most exciting track race you can ever see. An elimination. First rider eliminated is Troman from Uzbekistan, number 23. He had a crash in the elimination last night. Great to see him still out there. but suffering a bit. Certainly Argentina and Sweden are going to have to keep themselves out of trouble because it is tight at the back.
Ferrari trying to fire up, but it's not going to happen for him. So a misfire there for Augustin Ferrari from Argentina.
And Johansson just in by the skin of his teeth, but he is surfing awfully close to the back there. Will be an elimination next lap. Also down the back, Martinez from Venezuela, debuted at the World Championships at the ripe old age of 35. Very impressive. That was last year in Santiago.
Johansson high on the track, trying to come over the top of Krennic. They both get in, and it's further down. I think it's Yilmaz. So the winner of the tempo.
Oh, he was in second coming in. That will be...
Ouch.
Yeah, that's unfavourable for his overall standing, certainly. And Krennic, he looks to be in a bit of strife, but he's also sitting in third overall. So this is a very comfortable situation for Junji Wu, who is leading overall. If he can stay out of trouble, it'll put him in good stead at the end.
Johansson down the bottom of the track from Sweden, and nowhere to go for him. He has looked very tentative, I must say, at the back of the field a few times. So perhaps doesn't have the bravado as some of these other riders, so he's the next one to go.
Well, Krennic from Czechia, number 8, sitting in third overall. He was at the back, he's now at the front, staying out of strife. But in strife is Jingfeng Li from Chinese Taipei, but over the top, the bottom is the danger, Roger Kluge.
Roger Kluge is gone. That's a huge elimination there for the big man, Roger Kluge from Germany.
He was in 4th spot leading into this, the most experienced out there, 3-time Madison world champion.
He'll be disappointed, the man from Eisenhüttenstadt in Germany, in the east. Frizzly now in the danger, and you can just see he looked over his shoulder just to make sure there was no one else behind, and he'll accelerate up around the outside. I would expect Frizzly to be able to stay in here comfortably. He knows the riders down the bottom of the track have nowhere to go, so Frizzly stays in, and I think it was Hong Kong. It was Chu Xuan Hui.
Frizzly looked comfortable in the end, but he did have to burn some matches to move around the outside.
You'll have to offset that carbon emission.
Krennic,
for the next one.
He's gone front to back. He's sitting in third overall leading into this event, but his bunch skills are on pause at the moment. He's either at the back or the front. Come on, Arnold Krennic, move up. He does. He gets out of danger, and it is Li Jingfan from Chinese Taipei who will miss out and be called on that one.
So Krennic at the back, Frizzly in front of him. Connor Leahy towards the front, big pursuit time trial expert, doesn't mind sitting on the front of the peloton pushing the win, but Frizzly might be in danger here because Adam Krennic might look to box him in. Imamura from Japan realises he's at the back, and a desperate move keeps him in. Really good acceleration from Imamura, because that was Petelin from Slovenia.
The youngest man in the race, 19 years of age. He's been riding really strongly. That was a bit of a miscalculation on his part. You can really get trapped down the bottom. They haven't confirmed that.
No, I can tell you why. He was the last across the line, but there was an infringement further up in the peloton. So Wu Junji is the rider that's eliminated. So it's not always the last rider across the line. If you do infringe or push and shove or go down onto the blue band to try and improve.
It's been restarted. They did neutralise it while the commissaires were sorting that out. But that is a big one because Junji Wu was leading heading into this event. This really is turning the whole race on its head. And that was an error on his part. You don't want to get eliminated for a tactical error when you are leading the race. Frizzly is again going to have to move up, shouldering Martinez and Leahy. Oh, I think Martinez will be the one to go, but that was tight. And you don't often see an elimination from the top of the track. It's usually one of the riders down the bottom.
Feng, which we actually didn't pick up. Feng was off the back and is self-eliminated, so that's made it really challenging. The guys like Martinez have desperately sprinted to stay in without realising Feng had already self-eliminated.
Well, let's see if Martinez can move up and change his luck here. It's too much for Martinez, and he's eliminated this lap. He got an extra 2 points for the effort. But the 35-year-old is the next to go. We are down to 8 riders left. The top 3 that came in with the top 3, 2 of them are gone. It's only Kreinik that remains out there. And Petelin, the 19-year-old from Slovenia, he was saved earlier, and he's now leading the way out of trouble.
Well, Frizzley is really living on the edge here, the American. So Benjamin Van Aert from Indonesia, but Frizzley desperately sprinting every 2 laps here, costing himself a lot of energy.
We're starting to see some real fatigue show on the back. Nujo Lau, the Malaysian rider, looks to be in a bit of strife, but he accelerates around, and this could cost Frizzley or Leahy.
Well, Nujo Lau trying to slide his way around the outside, the former speed skater, but it's not going to happen for him, so he is off the rink.
It's not enough. Petelin, the youngest rider, he's at the back, the hometown hero, grew up around the corner. Connor Leahy redefining himself as a rider, an Olympic champion in the team's pursuit, but looking for some more experience in the bunch racing. He's gone to the front to keep himself out of trouble. Graham Frizzley, will he manage to get through, save himself here?
He does.
Oh,
could have been down the bottom there,
Kreinik.
Like
Kreinik. He came in 3rd place.
Yep.
Oh, and he's out. He's had an interesting elimination, though. He's either been on the front or the back for most of the race. Leahy leading again, safe spot to be.
The teenager, the 19-year-old, in the green colours of Slovenia. In last position, he has an experienced rider in front of him in Frizzley. That's why Graham accelerated, trying to squeeze Schmidbauer underneath. That could be to the advantage of Petelin as well. It is, because Schmidbauer, with nowhere to go, is next to be eliminated.
Oh, the long levers of the Austrian, not enough to get him through. We started with 17, we're down to 4. Petelin still at the back. Frizzley, Imamura and Leahy. Imamura winning the scratch race. Leahy and Frizzley, they both fell in the scratch race. Quite a change of fortunes.
So Frizzley in second last position, keeping an eye on Petelin. And the teenager, last little acceleration perhaps. It will be too little too late. So he's the next to go. We're down to the final 3. Imamura, Frizzley and Leahy. I
like Petelin. He's a very exciting young rider, and we'll see a lot of him in the future. Frizzley, Leahy and Imamura, the 3 left. Can Frizzley save himself? He's been close to elimination time and time again, but he's around Imamura.
And then stops. He gets over the top, puts the handbrake on just to try and force Imamura underneath. And could be trying to look after Connor Leahy a little bit here, but Imamura trying to come over the top, couldn't get there. So a little bit of friendly tactics between the Australians and the Americans there. So Connor guaranteed second place here up against Frizzley at least, but you can give Graham a bit of a pat on the back there, because he really did create that situation that eliminated Imamura.
Well, it's friendly until it's not. Leahy and Frizzley, a lap to go. And it's Frizzley the first to move. Leahy cannot respond.
These two were on the same road team last year. They were teammates for the Keish Body Wrap squad. They've now switched, and it'll be Graham Frizzley picking up the maximum points by winning the Omnium in the men's, elimination in the men's Omnium. So Connor Leahy with the 38 points. Both these riders touching down in the scratch race. So minimal points for that one. So a great maximum points gain for both of them heading into the final discipline, which is the points race.
It will be a very tight in that top 10. Coming in, Frizzley and Leahy were in 9th and 10th respectively. Imamura was in 6th, but he did win the scratch race. And there are the results.
So Frizzley, Leahy, Imamura, the top 3. 40, 38 and 36 points. And Roger Kluge, perhaps the biggest loser in that one of the pre-race favourites. So Adam Krennic getting deep enough into that race to hold on to the overall lead on 98. Imamura, after a shaky tempo event, was able to get himself back into second place. Frizzley absolutely skyrockets up the standings into third place overall. And those are the points that they will start the final discipline with. The points race, they start with their overall standings points. And as we've already seen the Madison, same format as you look back at the way Graham was able to get the deal done. He was always going to be the faster of these two, and when they were racing for the Cage Body Wrap squad last year, it was Connor doing the lead-outs for Graham Frizzley to win the sprints. So I felt that Connor knew before they even came to that last lap that Graham had it won.
And a great ride from Graham Frizzley so many times. He was lucky to not get eliminated. You could say that, woof, was it luck or was it just incredible strategy to ride as efficiently as you possibly can? Comes with some confidence.
Back to the women's sprint. And Leah Friedrich from Germany up against Mina Sato. So Friedrich, 1/1000th of a second quicker in the previous race. Does not get any closer than that in track cycling. So Sato needs to win this to force a decider. If Friedrich can come away with the win, she will take the bronze medal.
Friedrich led off the front in the first round. Sato, they swapped then in the second. So Sato leads now. They can change that position if Sato wants to force Friedrich to the front. You see that sometimes, we call it a track stand. They can slow right down. And there you go. Sato doesn't even need to come to anything looking like a stop for Friedrich to take the lead. Comfortable in the front.
So the 26-year-old from Dessau in Mecklenburg in the lead position. Sato just ducking and diving, weaving, putting a little bit of pressure, trying to force Friedrich to accelerate too early and waste energy. But Leah is experienced. Shouldn't be falling for those tactics. Once again, Sato just throwing a little bit of a fakie there, trying to put some pressure onto Friedrich. Coming around to get the bell this time. Very high on the track, Mina Sato. She has to win this to force the decider. Friedrich, she crosses the line first. She takes the bronze medal here in Perth. And here comes Mina Sato, but she's not closing the gap that quickly. Has some time up around the outside. It was so close in the first one, but Friedrich guarantees the bronze medal in the second.
She takes it comfortably and a strong ride. She got a lot of confidence, albeit 1,000th she won that first round, but riding from the front, choosing to take that first position, and a big hoorah to the crowd. And it's a big, beautiful crowd here in Perth tonight. They've been very vocal. They're supporting not just the Australian team, but all of the internationals as well, and that is so wonderful. And you can see it means an awful lot to win a gold medal at the World Cup. And there's the photo finish, not needed to judge who the winner was, but they're quite beautiful, the photography, those photo finish moments. Sensational ride from Friedrich, 8-time world champion, but never in the individual sprint. It's something that she's hunting, and this gets her a step closer to that goal.
Half a wheel in the end. Very similar to the first race. But Sato got up to a tyre width in the first one. Could not quite time it as well this time. Friedrich very, very cautiously around the bottom of the track after getting a warning in the semi-final. Almost drifting out of the red line there. That's the barrier for them, the fence for the lead rider. Not allowed to come above that red line in the final sprint. And she was really pumped for that bronze. The race for gold now, and Elise Andrews, the Olympic champion. Maybe a little bit surprised that she is in a desperate situation here. Must-win situation to force a decider. Brilliant sprint in the first one by Huan Liying from China. The 20-year-old sensation. She is the new kid on the block and really the sprinter on the world scene that everyone is talking about.
She really is incredibly talented. 20 years of age, already a gold medal here at the World Cup in Perth. She won the gold in the team sprint last night. A bit of an upset to Team Germany. Team China not qualifying fastest, but romping home for the gold. And in the interview afterwards, the three Chinese riders all said that what was just really important to them was being the best version of themselves that they could be. They were really enjoying and loving the racing. And that kind of attitude plus this kind of talent goes an awfully long way.
The 26-year-old from Christchurch, double gold at the Paris Olympic Games. Has had some time off the bike, so her form is a little bit unpredictable at the moment as she starts to rebuild towards the World Championships in Shanghai, China later in the year. And of course, the ultimate goal is to defend that title in Los Angeles 2028. And Huan Ling, she is going to be there because she is only going to get better over these next couple of years. Speed starting to pick up now. Andrews out of the saddle, high on the track, and riding with maturity behind her years. Huan Ling controlling the pace at the front as they come down to get the bell. The final lap, it's a race for gold here. And Huan Ling from China in the commanding performance. Andrews steps out down the back straight, out of the saddle for an extra little bit of acceleration. Caught on the hip around the outside though, and on the inside, Huan Ling from China. She gets the gold. 2 straight wins over the Olympic champion. And we have a new kid on the block, a sensation from China with gold here in the women's sprint.
Just a beautiful execution. An enormous amount of raw speed, an enormous amount of skill. And she's pleased with that. Elise Andrews has had a bit of a break after Paris. She's come back into the top level of competition and shown her strength, but the acceleration of Liang Andrews is out of her seat accelerating and still not able to move up on Huan. So strong is the Chinese rider in the saddle, and that was just a commanding ride from her.
Untouchable, the 20-year-old from China, Huan Ling. That seated acceleration, that's impressive. It'll be challenging, hard to beat over the coming years.
And it was a clean ride too. She didn't for a moment look as though she was going to exit the sprint line.
So double gold for Huan Ling, team sprint and sprint. Still has the Keirin to come as well. Elise Andrews takes silver, and Leah Friedrich from Germany with the bronze ahead of the silver medalist from the World Championships last year in the sprint, Mina Sato. That just shows you the depth of the field here in Perth. Waving to the camera. All the funny business now stops as the men's sprinters come up onto the track for the Keirins.
Well, it's all fun and games. The Keirin riders, they're entertainers at their heart. And this is the race for 7th to 12th. Kalachnik, Kuriltsev, Li Ziwei, Lucas Spiegel, Chekai Tao, and Shi Feng Kang. The 6 riders vying for 7th to 12th. And we've seen some exciting racing in the men's Keirin thus far. Some very tight racing, some shoulder barging, we've seen it all. 6 laps, 3 laps with the Derny setting the pace. It starts at 30 kilometres an hour. When it peels off at the pursuit line, 3 laps to go, it's travelling 50 kilometres an hour. So it gets them up to speed.
Bronze medalist in the team sprint yesterday, Li Ziwei from China in the red colours, 3rd from the top. Lucas Spiegel, the German, down the bottom of the track, 21-year-old. Former medalist in the Junior World Championships. And the 2 that he went to were in Cairo and Tel Aviv. Junior Worlds always go to interesting locations, not always indoor tracks either, it must be said.
It's wonderful development for the athletes. And it's exciting to see them transition to the elite level so rapidly, but an enormous amount of talent from the young riders. Kuriltsev, only 21 years of age. Lucas Spiegel, also 21. That's who we're looking at, the German rider at the moment.
Young talent as the men's Keirin, 7th race for the 7th place is onto the track now. 3 laps behind the bike. And Spiegel it is that sits behind Shane Perkins riding the motorcycle, the electric Derny.
It'll slowly and consistently accelerate up to speed. The rider's maintaining the position that they drew and started in until the bike peels off. A rider must not pass even a tiny bit past the back wheel of the Derny, or they will be disqualified. We've seen that happen from some of the most experienced riders when they get a little bit excited. Wang, the most recent experience at the Paris Olympics, but we won't see that happen here.
Kalkacek in 2nd position as Lucas Spiegel gives the motorcycle a little bit of room now as it is about to come off as it comes into the finishing straight once more with 3 laps to go. Kang sits in 3rd position. Then it's Li from China, the red colours. Kirilitsev in 5th position. And right at the very back is To from Hong Kong, and no movement. The bike has come off, 3 to go, and now the first acceleration is coming, and it's from Li Siwei from China. Massive gears on these bikes, and it's a real desperate fight to get to the front as they come down. It's a race for 7th place. Li Siwei finally wins that battle. So he comes into the 1st position, but final lap now, race for 7th position, and a mad scramble behind him, hugging the bottom of the track and fighting back on the inside. Kalkacek in 2nd position. Right up around the outside is Kirilitsev, though, trying to come over the top. And it's Kalkacek that will get there first, though. 7th place for Nikita. 2 Nikitas in the race. And Kalkacek is the first one to get there. 7th position overall ahead of Lee. Spiegel fights through on the inside to finish 9th.
So a clean race, a fast race, 10.234 for that final 200 metres, but they were up to pace well before they hit the 200 metres to go. Kalachnik takes the win ahead of Lee, then Spiegel. Kiriltsev will take 10th place. And such a strong ride from Shiwi Li, the first to accelerate. Just couldn't hold off Kalachnik, but held on to 2nd. That was good to hold on to 2nd with a big bike throw.
Spiegel in German means mirror. But that was a good performance. He won't need to go home and have a good long look at himself at all. He'll be confident with that performance.
How long have you been waiting to get that one in?
Just popped into my head. But Nikita Kalkacek is the man that gets 7th place. So all of those riders, of course, wanted to be in the race for the medals. That's coming up next. That's the lineup. Lee Hoffman, Tate Ryan, Matt Richardson, Max Dornbach, Mikhail Yakovlev, and Azazel Arwang. Former Keirin world champion. European Keirin champion is Lee Hoffman.
This is an absolutely stacked final. Yakovlev there. He was one of many to break the world record in the sprint qualifying in the 200 at the Paris Olympics. Unfortunately, he didn't hold it for long. He got beaten twice after he rode.
Well, he also had the unofficial, as we look at Max Dornbach, just the final adjustments to his number. And Hoffman up on the track there, silver medalist at the World Championships last year in the Keirin. That was a big step up for him in the individual events. But Yakovlev did have the unofficial world 200-metre record from the big track in Moscow, but they didn't have all the timing right for that one, so it wasn't confirmed. But Dornbach comes to the top of the track. Former Keirin world champ and multiple times Keirin medalist at the Olympic Games, Arwang from Malaysia. Then it's the European champion, Matt Richardson, on his home track, but riding now for Great Britain. Tate Ryan, the 20-year-old from Adelaide, former junior world champion in the 1,000-metre time trial. This is his first big individual final. And speaking of big, the biggest man at the track, Mikhail Yakovlev for Israel. He is certainly a powerful man and one to watch. And Lee Hoffman sporting a right wrist injury that kept him out of the team sprint. He'll be trying to put that to the back of his mind. And the silver medalist from the Keirin at the Worlds last year, hoping to try and go for gold here.
He looked very comfortable in the second round, progressing through. Richardson took the win ahead of Hoffman and Yakovlev. Longest legs, biggest beard. He's distinctive. Tate Ryan, he's interesting. He's young. He's only 20 years of age, but he was the first junior to ever break the 60-second mark for the 1 kilometre event. And then you've got the incredible experience of Wang and Dornbach, the two riders who have been on the circuit for the longest. You mentioned Matthew Richardson, riding for Great Britain, wearing the European champions colours, but he's got family in the crowd. He grew up, he learnt how to race his bike on this very velodrome. Bit of home pride for him, even if he isn't wearing the green and gold.
So Hoffman leads the way, and it's Yakovlev, Ryan, Richardson, Wang and Dornbach. And look at the size of Mikhail Yakovlev at full speed. And I know we talk about time zones and differences. We are 3 hours here in Perth behind the east coast of Sydney and Melbourne, Brisbane, etc. But at full speed, Yakovlev, when he leans over in these bends, the difference between his head and his feet is so great that they're in different time zones, I feel.
I mean, the reality is, tactically, when you talk about trying to go through gaps, whether they're there or not, Tate Ryan could duck under his elbow at full flight.
First movement coming from Germany. Dornbach as Shane Perkins takes the motorbike off the track. 3 laps to go in the final of the men's Keirin here at the UCI Track World Cup. Dornbach moved first. Ryan has gone even earlier over the top, right past. Waiting for Richardson, second last position. He won't stay there for long with 2 laps to go.
Good move from Tate. Hoffman, he got balked a bit, so he's making his move.
And here comes Richardson. Hoffman trying to come over the top of Tate Ryan. He will get there as they come to the bell. But look at Matthew Richardson. Wang in tow. They are the top 3 now. Hoffman, Richardson, Wang down the back straight. They were teammates, now they're rivals. Richo over the top of Hoffman. Wang trying to get there as well, and almost does. Oh, that was close. They've given it to Richardson at first look, but Wang thinks he has it.
I think he got it. From our view, we're directly above the finish line. It looked as though Wang had the momentum and got over the top. He thinks he's one of the, usually the athletes know best.
He's claiming it.
He's claiming it, and you better believe that if Matthew Richardson thought he had it, he'd be claiming it, which he is not. We will wait for that photo finish.
They have given confirmation, and it is Azazul Wang, the 38-year-old, one of the most intelligent sprinters on the planet. Masterclass from the mighty man from Malaysia. First place for him. He just gets better with age.
That was sensational. What a beautiful ride from him. Everybody's eyes on Hoffman, on Richardson. But Wang, the pocket rocket, well, he's done it again.
Oh, you've got to be happy for him. Look, Richo is the world record holder over 200 metres. Everyone thought he was the favourite. But Wang, just brilliant. Glued to the back wheel and then had the acceleration to come over the top.
Well, Tate Ryan set Hoffman up perfectly. Hoffman not quite able to hold off Richardson, but look at Wang, my gosh, and a little bit of a wheelie over the line too. Front wheel lifting up, he knew he got it straight away. A smile from the commissaire too.
We'll see it here, out on the outside, throw to the line, the front wheel comes off the track. There it is, a little mono to get the deal done. Very close indeed, and even though he's incredibly well credentialed, as is all, you'd have to say that's a bit of an upset. Surprise win, but what a brilliant ride.
He's at the back end of his career. He's pulled the curtains on his Olympic career. He's 38 years of age. He just continues to deliver. He's exciting to watch, and the crowd love him. He's spent a lot of time in Australia. He's got a lot of fans.
There is a bit of a discussion about whether he will continue to London. He wasn't too sure just yet, and he did have that really upsetting and disappointing moment at the Paris Olympic Games where he was relegated in the Keirin racing. This might bolster him a little bit more. Wang gets the Keirin win ahead of Richardson and Hoffman. What a race that was. Sensational.
Richardson came in as European champion. That's why he's wearing the jersey that he is, with the blue stripes and not the Great Britain home colours. We'll also see him in the individual sprint wearing the European champions jersey. But a great ride for Wang. Australia finishing in third with Lee Hoffman.
Well, the sun has set over here in Perth, With the Indian Ocean in the background, what an incredible race that was. Azazul Awang from Malaysia, he's a superstar. He won the Keirin. Doesn't look so nice. The Speed Dome out here in eastern Perth, across the lovely city skyline. And we were here not long ago for the Australian National Road Championships, the first week of January. Now, and what a great race it was. The women's Madison we saw tonight as well. We've seen the sprinters, but we saw the Madison endurance riders as well. Ben, our man on the infield, has the Japanese combination that dominated the women's race.
Yes, thank you very much, Scott and Kate. I'm down here with the Japanese Women's Madison gold medal team for this first round of the World Cup 2026. Ladies, you've obviously ridden well together tonight. You've been a pairing for quite a long time. How did it feel out there?
はい、今回はシーズン初めの大会だったので、とてもなんかシーズン初めからそのいいスタートが切れてよかったなって思っています。
So it's their first race this season, and they were able to get a good result, so we're happy.
And obviously, towards the end there, it got really messy in the women's Madison there. The Mexicans went off the front, and you guys still chased and held on. What was the thinking there in the final few laps?
そうですね、まあずっとスプリントが続いた中でメキシコの速いスピードのアタックがきつかったんですけど、ここで離れるわけにはいかないと思って全力でついていきました。
So there's a lot of sprint going on, and the Mexican win. So they were just want to follow and just try to stay on their wheel, and that's they're just trying their best.
Awesome, and really dominant tonight. Where are we going to see you next?
次どこで会えるでしょうか。
フィリピンじゃなくて香港です。次は香港です。
Hong Kong.
Excellent. Thank you very much, ladies. Well done tonight.
Well, the Hong Kong World Cup is the next one coming up next month. The week after that, then we'll go down to Malaysia, just south of Kuala Lumpur, for the third and final round of the UCI World Cup Series 4 2026. And that'll be focusing on Shanghai. That's in October. We're in Santiago, Chile last year, Copenhagen the year before that, and then the Super Worlds was in Glasgow 2023, the first time that the UCI had all cycling disciplines come together in the one place for a World Championships. It's indoor cycling, radball, which is soccer on bikes.
Radball is rad.
Yeah, absolutely. With all the others as well, the traditional road track, mountain bike, BMX, etc. The first of our presentation ceremonies, not too far away. It is the women's Madison. We just heard from the Japanese winners, and we can see the teams all lined up. Japan, Australia, and what a fantastic finish it was for the Mexicans to get up onto the podium in third place.
Winners of the bronze medal, representing Mexico, Yareli Acevedo and Sofia Arreola. In second place, and winners of the silver medal, Australia. Represented by Kira Will and Elisa Pelides. In first place, winners of the gold medal, Japan. Represented by Maho Kikita and Suyaka Uchino. Ladies and gentlemen, the gifts will be presented by Steve Catania, MLA, member for Midland. Ladies and gentlemen, please, one more time, your applause for our medalists. Mexico, Australia and Japan.
Well, the crowd here at the Speed Dome in Perth absolutely loving the amount of racing. So many close calls, a couple of little upsets as well. But that wasn't the case in the women's Madison. Japanese team coming in as the dominant force, and they really proved that once they got onto the boards. Took complete control. A little scramble at the end between Australia and a very fast finishing, strong performance from Mexico to get up into the bronze medal spot. So the Aussie youngsters did well. Silver medal for them. The sprints and the Keirins, they have been amazing tonight. We still have the points race for the men's Omnium to finish off that particular event. And we go back and just show you how the tempo race itself did play out. We saw the lap gain by Yilmaz from Turkey. He then had a disastrous elimination race to drop right down the standings. Wu Junji, 26 points for him to finish in second place in that tempo event. It does get complicated once you start getting into the race itself, and then when the lap gains are taken. And as the riders that were all finishing without points, it came down to how they finished across the line in that very last sprint. So the overall point standings in the men's Omnium, Adam Krenek, he was 11th at the World Championships last year, only a 4-point advantage over Shunsuke Imamura from Japan. Frisley has rocketed up the standings to 3rd place and certainly within reach of the top step. Wu Junji, not a great elimination from him, dropped down from leading into 4th place. And we see Connor Leahy, the two riders that crashed in the scratch race, Connor Leahy and Graham Frisley, both in the hunt for the medal. So that's been a great recovery for those two.
There's been quite a variation, hasn't there, between the 3 events, and so you can very confidently say anything can happen in this final points race. Often the points race can seem a heavier balance because there's so many points on show. We've got a great crowd here tonight. They've been very vocal, not just for the Australians, but also for the international riders.
I did see in the crowd just a little bit earlier, 1983 World Professional Individual Pursuit Champion Steele Bishop, who is from Perth. And whenever there's a big event on, of course, the former world champ does come out to have a bit of a look. And look at that, the moon is out and about. What a beautiful part of the world. And it is a dream state over here in Western Australia as we look down on the Speed Dome in Perth. Swan Valley, not far behind us. Apparently there's a really nice chocolate factory out there, according to Kate Bates. Haven't got to go there just yet. Maybe tomorrow morning we will. But we did go down to Fremantle earlier today and have a look around. Historic town, and certainly has a lot of significance in the Australian sporting landscape, considering we were able to win back the America's Cup back in 1983. And then we drove up past Cottesloe Beach, go further north, you've got Scarborough and City Beach. Came back past Kings Park, where the Australian National Road Championships were held in January. Just a beautiful place to spend a day looking over the city skyline of Perth.
It really is magnificent, and if you're going to the Swan Valley to check out the chocolate factory, there's some wonderful wine regions out there as well. There's really a lot to do here in Perth. We didn't quite make it into the water today down at the beach. I think that's a goal for us to hit before the gold medals start tomorrow.
Photo opportunity for Kira Will and Alyssa Pilates.
Well, they were holding up little plushies. They are quokkas from Rottnest Island. They're beautiful.
Now, this is the race that's coming up, the final discipline within the men's Omnium, 25-kilometre points race, 100 laps or so, so 10 sprints in total every 10 laps. You can see the point splits there, 5, 3, 2 and 1, and double points on the final sprint, 10, 6, 4 and 2. This becomes a real tactical battle compared to a standalone points race where everyone starts on 0 points. This one, the riders really do look for the riders that are very close to them on points and try and mark them out of the race. That does create an opportunity for riders that are down in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th position that aren't being eyeballed as much by the top 3 to go on the attack and try and take laps on the field. Get a 20-point lap bonus. That's huge. That can move you up into the medals.
Well, the usual methodology in a standalone points race is really to ride offensively for the first half, and in the second half, you can take stock of where everybody is and then perhaps focus on a few riders. It's completely different in an Omnium, which really opens it up and makes it very interesting.
And then we have Ferrari, number 1. Always number 1, isn't it? They weren't number 1 in the Melbourne Grand Prix qualifying today, though. I think down in 4th place.
So not always number 1, but sometimes, certainly here, our Argentinian rider. And he is having a bit of a chat to our rider number 24 from Venezuela, Clever Jose Martinez. I've said it a few times, 35 years of age when he debuted at his World Championships last year. Now he is in Perth for the opening World Cup of the series. 2 more after this. The Speed Dome is a beautiful venue, 250 metres, Olympic standard track, beautiful Siberian pine. It has been resurfaced.
Just a few more moments of recovery being given to the men's Omnium points race riders. See the track down below us. 43 degrees is the angle in the straights, and even the bend, the bends, even the straights with those 12 degrees with bike shoes. Walking up onto their positions, not always that advisable.
Can be a little bit slippy.
Absolutely. Pretty wide though, 7 metres. Siberian pine, as most of the velodromes around the world are. Going nowhere in a hurry. And it was a real scramble. I must say that they are sitting on the rollers. For those of you that know cycling, you'll know what I'm talking about. But the rollers that you used for the warm-up, all of the countries were reaching out to friends and family on whoever they could to try and get access to rollers so they didn't have to bring them over here. And it was a real mad scramble trying to find some locals over in Perth. Very accommodating, of course, all of the people here. As we look at the commissaire panel, Christian Magiera from Germany is the president of the UCI panel, as Graham Frisley making his way up onto the track. Christian himself is from the town of Gera in Germany, which is in the eastern part, which would have been back in the day, East Germany itself. And the most famous cyclist that came from there was Olav Ludwig, 1988 Olympic road champion. And as good as he was as a road rider, Olav Ludwig, he actually went to the 88 Games thinking he would win the points race on the track, but come away with the gold in the road race.
Well, Angela Brodka, one of my teammates on the road, went to the 2004 Olympics. She was also from Gera.
Oh, there you go. Second most famous rider from Gera.
It's a bit of a breeding ground for talent. It's great to ride around there. The men's riders for the final race of the Omnium, the points race, coming out on track. They gave them a little bit more of a break, but also there have been a few falls in the racing today. Everybody's been fine, but they just checked the track. Again, the technical staff did a lap and made sure there weren't any splinters. Made sure the riding surface is a good one. We're looking at Vladislav Troman. He's had a bit of a tough World Cup. He had a very heavy fall in the men's elimination last night. You can see a little bit of bark off his elbows. He's been back out and about, but it's been a tough trot. Yilmaz from Turkey. He had a tremendous ride in the tempo race. Bit of a rough one in the elimination. I have a feeling he will be one of the riders very much on the offensive going into this points race. Adam
Krenek, just outside the top 10 in the Omnium at the World Championships last year, but just talking back there about Yilmaz from Turkey, with that incredible velodrome in Konya that has been built, it'll be interesting to see as we go towards maybe London, but definitely Brisbane 2032, just what comes out of Turkey. If you've got a venue like that, it's built and they will come. So they really could, if they put some money towards their cycling program, they have the venue to develop some sensational athletes, perhaps.
They've had a lot of world records on that track, especially in the sprint space, most recently at the European Championships, in the teams pursuit, in the flying 200 metres.
Shansuke Imamura, the 28-year-old, bronze medal at the World Championships in the Omnium back in 2023 in Glasgow. 9 times an Asian champion across Omnium, team pursuit, Madison, and in the elimination race. So the bunch races is masterful, but that was not the case in the tempo. He's still in the hunt in the overall, sitting in second position, 4 points off the lead of Adam Krennick. Graham Frisley there, the American, sits in third place on 92 points, only 6 points. And having a bit of a laugh there with Glenn O'Shea, who was his coach when he was part of the Australian national team. And Graham did ride some World Cups and international competitions for Australia before deciding to represent his country of birth. He comes from Montana. Used to have a beard as well. So it was Grizzly Frisley, the man from Montana, and he really did fit the part with the big beard. Trimmed that down these days. There's the overall leader, Adam Krennick from Czechia. Frisley sits in third place. So Imamura, the second place starter, is down the bottom of the track. So leader at the top, second down the bottom, third up the top, fourth down the bottom, and fourth is Wu Junji. Is Shansuka. 4-point deficit to overcome on Adam Krennick. But watch out for those riders that are a bit further down. Roger Kluger sits in 8th place. We've mentioned him a lot, but he is down on 80 points. He's the sort of rider now that knows he must go on the attack to try and get some kind of advantage and get himself back up into the points. Connor Leahy, Western Australian, likewise 6th at the World Championships in the points race last year. So he knows how to hurt himself deep in a race like this.
Well, you mentioned Roger Kluger, 5-time Olympian, 3-time World Madison champion. He's on 80 points. Krennick leading on 98. 20 points if you gain a lap. It's hard for Krennick to ride defensively because when there's less than 20 points between the top 11, you can't watch 11 riders to ensure 11 riders don't take a lap to jump ahead. So they all really need, they know that so many of the riders, 10 of the riders are within distance of the podium in a realistic way, further down depending on how the race plays out.
So 99 laps to go. Schmidbauer with almost a little move. And here it is now. It was the first little false start move, and now it's Yilmaz. We saw him do this in the tempo race. Very different when it comes to the point race. Over 100 laps, though.
It is, but Yilmaz, I feel as though he's got something to prove because he was out early in the elimination from a bit of a misstep. Not because he wasn't capable, and he will want to make that up. He goes early to show his intention. And that'll put a bit of nervousness, especially into Krennick. How do you defend your position when there's so many trying to take it? Connor Leahy needs to stay awake and aware. There's so many that will be wanting to get points by taking a lap and not necessarily just sprinting in a group.
Schmidbauer. Nobody really wants to be out there on their own. It's so difficult in such a long race to spend so many laps out in front. They want a few people to work with. Frisley now with a little gap as well. There are no fresh legs out there anymore. They're all hurting at varying degrees and different levels. So it can split up very quickly in this race.
Imamura reacts quickly. Frisley leads Krennick, but Imamura with his eyes on the prize. He was the first across the line in the scratch race. Not as comfortable in the tempo, had a better one in the elimination.
Riders towards the back also need to be very careful in this one because they don't know exactly how fatigued everybody is. And when the pressure really comes on, if you're sitting towards the back thinking you're just out of sight, out of mind, but then the riders in front lose the wheel because of the fatigue, then you're chasing gaps. So you do still need to pay attention and stay towards the front. Another acceleration with 92 laps to go. Next lap, first intermediate sprint coming up. Kluger goes through.
And the consideration when there's 17 riders strung out on track, you're not actually having to gain a full lap if you ride off the front because you just need to get to the back of the peloton. So a well-timed move can do that. The first bell for the first sprint.
And it's Hong Kong in the light blue colours on the front. Chu, then Yilmaz, Wu from China on the outside, Frisley underneath, just trying to fight, buck and weave, trying to really push his way up there. And the duck and weave didn't work for him because he finished in 4th place. Hong Kong pick up the first 5 points.
Yilmaz taking the 3 points. Wu from China taking the two, Frizzley, he will get a single point. And you won't see the points reflected in the standings from this points race. You will see them added to their points score, and only then will you see the lead potentially change as that accrues.
So some points for Wu put him equal second with Imamura for now. So handy little points grab there. Schmidt-Bauer it is from Austria, the man from Vienna.
24 years of age, the tallest man out on track.
He was the under-23 European points race champion back in 2022. So he knows how to do well in a race like this.
He's also quite a handy Madison rider, still gaining experience.
And on the offensive, here's the overall leader in Adam Krennic. This will cause a reaction. Imamura is trying to come across, Connor Leahy also, but Krennic doing exactly what you said, Kate. The gap was too small to be defensive, so he's on the attack.
And it's a solid way to race because you know that there will be riders hesitating, wanting to go with the move, but also wanting to protect their position in the race. Imamura rides solo, 20-metre gap. Leahy is chasing. Krennic hot on his heels. Frizzley is not letting them go anywhere. Short turns for all of the riders. Frizzley doing a full half lap. That when he's at the front of the race, that's not an expectation that you will do such a long turn. So he's wanting to keep the speed high. It's just been wiped off you. You know that when they are all at the top of the track.
Ramazan Yilmaz. Little acceleration from him. So next sprint coming up. 82 laps to go now. Oh, 81 and a half. They will get the bell when they come around this next time.
This is a vulnerable point in the race when they're all up the top. You are just sitting ducks waiting for somebody to move.
Super slow into this sprint though. So this is interesting. Chu picked up the last sprint for Hong Kong, now on the front again. Wu behind him, then it's Imamura. Connor Leahy in fourth, but Wu goes over the top. So Wu Junji, the 23-year-old, handy rider on the road, good sprinter in the points race, and he keeps going as well. Picks up the 5 points, but keeps the pressure on the pedals. So Imamura, second for him. Then it was Chu from Hong Kong. So he's riding really well. Still so much to go here in the men's points race, though. So they'll come around to get 78 laps to go. And Chu from Hong Kong, there's 2 sprints in a row where he's been in first or second. So handy performances from him. He's down in 7th place overall and 85 points. Krennic still leads. Imamura only 1 point the difference behind, and Wu up there as well. So this is really tight at the top, waiting for Frizzley and Connor Leahy to start picking up some points.
And Wu's an exciting young rider, 23 years of age. He's very good on the road as well. He's had some success at the Tour of Qinghai Lake.
2 riders off the front. Once again, it's Yilmaz from Turkey, Schmidt-Bauer. They've been the 2 that have really indicated they want to go on the attack. And this is the biggest gap that we've seen them be able to stretch so far. 76 to go.
And sometimes, as we saw in the Women's Madison with Team Mexico, you only need one attack to really throw the race into complete array. But sometimes consistency is what gets it done. Certainly for Yilmaz and Schmidt-Bauer, that is what they are going after. Consistently attacking and working. But a bit of hesitation from the pair. They look over the shoulder. Frizzley is the one chasing, but they're both looking back, neither fully committed to this breakaway. And as a result, Schmidt-Bauer has said, I am going on with this. Yilmaz not so sure. It is not a strong breakaway.
Well, Yilmaz down in 11th place overall on 79 points. So he's, again, one of those riders in that little cluster in the middle of the field that are not being looked at as closely as the top riders like Krennic, Imamura, Wu and Frizzley. So getting a little bit of leeway. Can he go on with it though? 72 to go. The next sprint's coming. Might be able to hold on at least for the 5 points, but Frizzley comes through leading the peloton. is up and out of the way, though. So they'll get the next bell this time. Can Schmidbauer hold on? At least stay out there for all the effort to pick up the 5 points. The gap's still pretty big. Good chance he can do this. Chase is coming from Petelin from Slovenia. Wu from China, who did win the last sprint but was relegated from it, so he won't quite realise that he doesn't have the amount of points that he was hoping for. Schmidbauer picks up the 5. Wu this time comes through over the top. Another 3 points for him, and that will put him at the very top. So new overall leader as Wu Jinji goes up to 100 points.
That's a big effort from the Chinese rider. And Schmidbauer, great to get the 5 points there. It'll move him up to 8th from 11. But he didn't continue, and the peloton very quickly came back together. There's a lot of opportunity after sprints if somebody keeps going. Often the peloton balks a little bit, but not the case there. And Yilmaz, you can just see at the very back of shot, struggling. So he's done so much, but it's really bitten him.
From off the front to out the back for the rider from Turkey. The attacks keep coming, 67 to go. Connor Leahy it is, the man from Perth on the front for Australia. Graham Frisley riding for the United States now, but grew up in Melbourne. He comes through, he's sitting in 4th place overall. Race leader Wu Jinji from China on 100 points. Adam Krennick started on 98 in the lead, still on 98, now in 2nd place. He needs to get some points if he wants to stay on the podium. Then it's Shunsuke Imamura, 1 point further back in 3rd place. Frisley, Connor Leahy, Peterlin, they are the top 6.
But there are some big gaps opening up in the peloton, and this is where absolute attention is required. Frisley, one of the riders, caught a little bit back. He'll have to use a bit of energy to rejoin. A small gap can become a big one as the fatigue really sets in. 64 laps is still a long way to go. We saw that in the women's Madison where everything was turned on its head within the final 20 laps. But we will also see Jinji Wu, who is now at the top of the point standings. We can see on 100 points. He's in a bit of strife. In front of him you can see a gap, but that's not the front of the race. Every time the peloton swings up and comes back together, they wipe off speed, but often that stop-start is actually worse on the legs and the lungs than the consistent speed.
So all back together again. Overall race leader number 6 from China, Wu Jinji. He's not going to be in the points this time. He's way too far back. Schmidbauer it is that leads. 61 laps to go. Connor Leahy, the Australian, in 2nd position. Imamura behind him. And Martinez in 4th, but look at the acceleration from Shunsuke Imamura. He'll pick up the 5 ahead of Schmidbauer, then Connor Leahy.
Well, Schmidbauer consistently getting points. He's sitting in 7th. He was in 11th, so he's moving up. Imamura is starting to show the legs that we saw earlier in the race, and that catapults him up onto the top spot, 2 points ahead of Junji Wu, who didn't get any points in that last sprint. Frisley leads, Imamura, Connor Leahy.
So a new race leader after every one of these intermediate sprints, it seems. 3 riders off the front, including Imamura, who is the new leader. Frisley with him, Connor Leahy is there as well. 2 riders that crashed in the opening discipline, the scratch race. Just saw a rider swing out from the middle of the peloton there. That's just a sign of very, very fatigued legs. And the 3 off the front being reabsorbed, but look at the gaps as we get deeper into this race. 56 laps to go when they come around. The race is so easily able to just split to pieces as the big man Kluger from Germany comes through.
Well, he's a silver medalist at the Olympics in this very event. Very good points race rider. Adam Krennick, he started this event in gold medal position. He's currently sitting in bronze medal position. He knows that
Still hasn't
Something
picked up.
needs to change.
He hasn't picked up a single point, Krennic. He's been on the attack. He's looking strong, but no sprint points at all. He has to rectify that if he wants to stay on the podium. Just narrowly holding on to the bronze medal position, 4 points ahead of Graham Frisley in fourth.
But this is a really dangerous situation for the broad race because there are so many gaps opening up and so many groups forming. Roger Kluge is the man doing the damage at the very front, but he's in good company because Imamura, currently sitting in the gold medal position, he is now on the front. This group of 6, if they are not caught, if it does not come back together, will turn the entire race on its head.
Well, second place is Wu Junji from China. He's not looking that good. He's caught behind that split. The second group just coming through now. Connor Leahy swings up. Wu goes to the front. Been sprinting well, but when the real pressure has come on, and you can see a short turn of pace there from the man from China, he looks like he's starting to crack. Imamura leads as they come into the next intermediate sprint. Sits in 5th position here. Might not be able to pick up any points here. The overall leader, Imamura. Frisley it is that leads down the back straight. He's in 4th place. Pick up the 5 points here and he could move himself into the bronze medal position with 50 laps to go. Well, he'll get 3 points because Roger Kluge, he picked up the 5.
He just rolled over the top. Petelin from Slovenia is the rider who continues the pace going, and that's a good opportunity because there is fatigue coming off every sprint, and if you can really keep the pace on, it can make those fatigued legs a little bit worse. The race is very clearly now split into 2 groups. This is the front peloton we are seeing. Just off camera is the rest of the race, and they're now more than half a lap adrift.
None of the favourites in that second group. Another attack coming, and it's the 6th place getter in the points race at the World Championships last year. The Perth boy, Connor Leahy, multiple times Australian individual pursuit champion, loves getting off the front. Doesn't mind pushing the wind. Schmidbauer is with him.
And Schmidbauer has consistently moved up the rankings here, starting in 11th. He's currently in 7th, and he's not too far adrift should he accrue some more points on 87 versus the 102.
Imamura closes the gap. So when the pressure's been put on Imamura, our overall leader, he's been able to deliver, shuts that move down, puts pressure onto Wu Junji once again, who has gone missing here, and there's a big split. Imamura, the overall leader's gone out in front. Krennic, who sits in 3rd place, he's behind as well.
And this is messy because 2 of the riders in that front 5 have actually been lapped. So that will be reflected in the points. Gustav Johansson and Ramazan Yilmaz. So the Swedish rider and the Turkish rider are the 2 in that top 5 that are actually a lap down. So we've got Schmidbauer, Yamamura and Connor Leahy leading the race. And you can see that those 2 riders that have been lapped are not doing a turn. They are just sitting on the back, but causing a little bit of a mess in doing so.
And a big move, a push from Connor Leahy here. Schmidbauer unable to go with him, swung up. Imamura is up to the challenge yet again. The Japanese star riding so well. Closes the gap down to Connor, and the crowd are up and about. They want to see the man from Perth come through. 42 to go. Next sprint coming up soon.
And good move. Imamura is not actually riding with Leahy because Leahy tries to swing up. Imamura says, I'm leading the race. I'm not taking any responsibility here. But Leahy needs to keep going because this is his opportunity to push toward the podium.
Roger Kluge is on the move as well as he comes across to the 2 riders in front. Imamura on a sprint lap. Kluge won't get there in time, or will he? It's a long straight here. Imamura, look over the shoulder. Another 5 points. And Kluge picks up 2 for second. It was Connor that got through for second, and Kluge keeps going. The big man on the march.
He just moved across so quickly then. And it is interesting, the dynamics that Imamura has no interest in riding. That makes it really hard for Leahy. And now that Kluge's across, it gives them a bit more of an opportunity to gain a bit of an advantage. But at the top, Imamura still extending that lead. Wu not part of the group, nor is Krennic, who is currently sitting in the silver and the bronze.
So we have the 1st, 3rd, 5th 6th and 7th place getters out there in that front group. Wu Junji sitting in second for China. He is the man gone missing now. Frizzley also 4th place getter for now, but in that second group.
That is the front of the race. Krennic did a good job. He didn't figure in the points in the last sprint, but he did push across with Petelin, the very exciting 19-year-old Slovenian. Leahy on the move again. He's determined. Petelin is the only one in pursuit. If these riders can get together, they will have a chance of gaining a 20-point advantage.
4 years in a row. Connor Leahy won the Australian Individual Pursuit Championship. He was 3rd in the Australian Time Trial Championship a couple of years ago on the road as well. Doesn't mind being out there in front. Look over the shoulder to see who's chasing. You'll see the shortest rider in the race in Chu Tuan Wei from Hong Kong. And the gap is coming down because Roger Kluger's going to close it at 34 to go.
Well, there is no Wu, there is no Frizzley. So if Connor Leahy can keep going even with this composition of break, he will move much closer to a certain medal. Krennic holding on for dear life to Petelin's wheel. They've taken the speed off, they're up the track. But Frizzley is the one having to chase from the bunch behind.
Krennic doesn't look convincing. Came in as the overall leader, sits in 3rd place now on equal points with Wu Junji. That should change once they get through this next sprint because Wu's caught behind. Although the gap is starting to close down, there will be an acceleration soon because in half a lap they will get the next bell to sound the intermediate sprint. Wu it is from China. He's back in the mix here. So it's all back together at the next sprint with 31 laps to go. Roger Kluger leads.
A lot of energy used for not a lot of gain for some of those riders, but more points on offer this lap.
Imamura tucked underneath the big figure from Germany. So Kluger will pick up the 5. Trying to close down the gap and get himself back up onto the podium. Imamura, more points for him. Connor Leahy also. So he's up into 4th place. And Petelin, the teenager from Slovenia, really starting to come into his own as we get deeper into this race. He sits in 6th overall, but showing some real strength here.
Well, the group back together. Imamura really starting to rise out of the peloton as solidifying his spot for that gold medal. But Wu sitting in 2nd, Krennic sitting in 3rd, but both on 100 points. Leahy now on 99 points, absolutely in contention. If he can keep the consistency up. A lot of energy went into that earlier breakaway, but he is a good individual pursuit rider. He's quite comfortable on his own.
10-point margin for Imamura over Wu. Question being raised of the Chinese rider, though. He's been missing for the last couple of sprints. Yilmaz from Turkey, the next to go on the attack. We've seen him off the front. We've seen him out the back. And once again, after a little bit of recovery, another attack from him. Connor Leahy, quick to shut it down. Schmidbauer behind him. And then it's Petelin. Roger Kluger just drifts towards the front as well. And Adam Krennic. I had my doubts, but I just don't think he's a good sprinter. He has the strength. He wants to go on the attack, but it's just those intermediate sprints where he's lacking.
He's certainly struggled. Yilmaz the last to lay down the big attack. They could afford to let him go. He's sitting on 43 points, down in 12th position. Krennic is the one who came in gold medal position, hasn't managed to feature in many sprints. Only 2 points in this whole points race. He's off the front, but this is a soft off the front because there is a big reaction from Imamura, no less, who is in the gold medal position at the moment. And what was a very broken race with many groups across the track, it is all together again.
Peloton high on the track, now back down the bottom, so dragged down to the bottom by New Jo Lau from Malaysia, the former speed skater. He's handled himself well. Speed skating to track cycling, you can imagine the technical difficulties of getting onto a velodrome, so he's doing very well. So Connor Leahy at 22 to go, a little bit of an acceleration from him, and back from the dead perhaps. Wu Junji coming through. So he'd gone missing, had to chase, missed a lot of points, and look at this. Little bit of recovery, deep breath, and 21 to go. He's on the attack. He should be able to pick up the points here. He's dragged 2 riders that are down in the overall standings. Reaction is from Imamura further behind, but this will be 5 points to Wu. He'll go to 105, and Imamura will pick up 1 for 4th, so he'll go to 111.
And this is a big change to the race because the 4 are more than half a lap ahead of the chasing peloton.
Well, a big change at the front. We thought Imamura was going to ride away with this, although the challenge was put to him. He was able to get across as well. So only picked up the 1 point, but certainly no signs of cracking for Shinsuke Imamura.
Imamura was not prepared to ride with Conor Leahy in a break. He said, I'm leading, I don't need to do this. I would be very surprised if he is prepared to ride with Junji Wu, who is the closest to him and also a very fast and rapid rider, and arguably has expended less energy in this points race so far. Well, we'll know shortly. Imamura, he is riding. He is prepared to do a turn of pace, which is a curious tactic, but it is in the dying part of the race. Sometimes you just need to solidify your spot and then they'll fight for that gold and silver if it comes down to that. But it's looking like the group is coming back together, led no least by Roger Kluge.
Well, a mistake from Imamura there because he did swing up to go back to the peloton, but the other 3 continued on, including Wu. So he'll now have to be a part of the chase to bring the guy in 2nd overall in Wu Jinji from China back into the fold. Yilmaz once again off the front. He's been the yo-yo of the peloton. Up, down, up the back, off the front, still going. And the youngster, the teenager, Petalin, doing a good job dragging Wu around as well. That'll be decisive. Roger Kluge looking to close it down. Imamura in 2nd position.
There's still enough points on offer to completely turn the podium on its head. Imamura in the position at the moment, it's his to lose the gold medal, but Junji Wu has had a big step up.
And that attack now swept away at 13 laps to go. One more normal 5-point sprint to come, then double points on the final sprint. It is still all to play here. 11 points the difference between 1st and 3rd, but there's only 1 point between Krennic and Leahy in 3rd and 4th. The podium still to be raced for.
Well, Frizzly and Petalin are the 2 who are very close to that podium. Roger Kluge still within distance.
They'll come around to get the penultimate bell. Final 5-point sprint. Roger Kluge it'll be. Imamura in 2nd position. Conor Leahy moves up into 4th. It's Schmidbauer that's up there in 3rd. And look, all sneaking through underneath. Oh, Wu from China. He needs to be careful. He got relegated from 1 sprint in this points race already. Pushed through underneath Conor Leahy. Kluge, he didn't see it, doesn't care. 5 points for him. Imamura picks up 3. He'll be very thankful for the big man from Germany because that gives an extra bit of lead now for Imamura. 114 points, Wu on 106. Krennic remains on 100. Through all of this race, Adam Krennic has only picked up 2 points since the start. He still sits there in 3rd place.
Well, what he needs to do is finish in front of Conor Leahy above anything else, and he is riding defensively for that podium spot, for that bronze medal. He makes his final move, 8 laps to go, and Krennic is saying, I'm not a pure sprinter, but here is my opportunity for a medal.
So the overall leader coming into this final discipline in the men's Omnium, the points race, Adam Krennic off the front. He now sits in the bronze medal spot, but it's a very narrow advantage of 1 point over Conor Leahy. The man from Perth, Western Australia, sits in 4th place. Out in front, Shinsuke Imamura on 114. Wu Jinji from China, 106. They're in gold and silver for now. But 10 points up for grabs on this final sprint. That can change everything.
Yamaman Yilmaz, he was the first to attack in this race. He's been consistent, but he's nowhere in contention, so he's just getting in the way of points at the moment. Krennic, Leahy, Frizzly and Kluge are the 4 really vying for that podium now.
So only Wu Jinji can still win this race over Imamura in the final point sprint. But all 3 medals can change. And Kluger high on the track with 4 laps to go. Connor Lee, he sits in second place. Then it's Schmidt-Bauer, Pentelin. And Imamura now moves up underneath. Wu on the outside. So Imamura underneath, Wu around the outside. They are the 2 that are focusing on the gold medal here. Imamura in a pretty good position. Just needs to get some points to guarantee gold. And he comes up to sit behind Kluger.
Well, Kluger's proven that he can be on the front with 3 to go and maintain his spot. Pentelin taking the opportunity. The youngster from Slovenia, he can get himself on the podium if he wins this sprint.
Well, it's an arm wrestle, a drag race between these 2 on the front. The teenager up against the 40-year-old on the inside, and it's Pentelin that's trying to get the better of them. Imamura in the slipstream underneath, looking to be dragged in. Frizzley from the US up around the outside. Wu with nowhere to go. That could guarantee the gold medal is going to go to Imamura. Frizzley will pick up the 10 points. Kluger will come through to get the 6. Pentelin will get 4. And then Wu comes through to get 2 points. Imamura takes the gold medal for Japan. No points in the final sprint. It didn't matter in the end. And Wu Jinji will get the silver. And Frizzley's sprint at the end puts him up, possibly, into bronze. Yes.
They've recorrected it now. We'll see it on screen shortly. So Frizzley took the win ahead of Kluger. Pentelin was in 3rd. Junji Wu came in 4th, so desperately hung on to that silver medal because 1:14 for Imamura. What a dominant ride from him. He turned into a very defensive ride at the back end. He started this event by winning the scratch race. He finished by really riding in style. Sensational gold medal from him.
Solid performance, absolutely. 114 points in the end, so only 6 points was the difference, but you only need 1.
And a big ride, like Japan's been on fire tonight. Incredible ride from the women's Madison pairing. Graham Frizzley, an exhausted last push, almost to silver, but he gets himself onto the podium for a bronze.
He went missing for a lot of that race and was able to do it when it needed to be done. 10-point gain at the end, and he leapfrogged over a bunch of riders to get onto the podium ahead of Roger Kluger. But Imamura from Japan wins gold in the men's Omnium.
Great ride from him. You could say lucky or inspired from Frizzley. We didn't see him a lot, but he didn't need to do anything except what he did in that final sprint. And had Wu not have gotten that 4th place, he would have found himself a silver medal.
He wanted more. Graham was here to try and win it and was just left in the lurch a little bit throughout. But he's such a fast rider that he can pull out those kind of bursts of speed at the end. So luckily, he hadn't lost too much throughout that race to be able to still deliver to get himself onto the podium. But it's all about Shunsuke Imamura here, tucked further back, out of the points. But he had already realised by then that Wu was not going to be able to get the 10-point win. You can see him back in 4th place, trying to come up over Pentelin. So 2 points for 4th place in the double points final sprint for Wu Jinji. So some ups and downs in that one.
Oh, yeah. A very tight. Krennic came in gold medal position and ended up finishing in 6th. So tight was that top end, so variable were all of the events. Imamura, the most consistent from start to finish with the win in the first event.
Well, with about a month to go, you see Imamura taking the overall win in the men's Omnium. Wu Jinji in 2nd with Frizzley with the bronze medal. You go down to the leader coming into the points race, Adam Krennic. He's got a month until the next round of UCI Track World Cup. Put some sprint training on the menu, perhaps. He needs a little bit of extra punch in those sprints to keep himself in the hunt.
But an exhilarating Omnium overall.
Well, Yilmaz from Turkey, he was entertaining. Doesn't lack aggression when it comes into these races.
No, and a change of favours for him too. I think had the elimination have been stronger, he may have ridden differently in the points race. But an entertaining rider, that's for sure.
Well, let's go down to the infield with Ben. He has our Keirin champion. What a little superstar, Azizul Awang.
Thank you very much, Kate and Scott. Yeah, I'm down here with Aziz Awang. the winner of our men's Keirin here at the first World Cup of 2026 now, Aziz. Let's go back to that first lap. Oh, sorry, that last lap of that Keirin there. You had Matt Richardson there in front of you, the fastest man ever over 200 metres. How did that feel going through that last lap, needing to overhaul him to the finish line?
Oh, it's a crazy night for me, unbelievable. I was a little bit sluggish earlier this morning, but I made small adjustment, But to race with the big boys, Richardson, Hoffman, and some other boys is crazy. But to hold the wheel, he's freaking fast. I can say that I'm a bit lucky, and then he's super strong, but I think I got the experience above him for tonight. And to win in front of the crowd in Perth is so amazing in this beautiful month of Ramadan as well for me. And I'm 38 years old, to win at this big stage is unbelievable.
Oh, you're taking all my good questions away, Aziz. But no, you've won here in Perth. Your last World Cup win was in Adelaide. You clearly love Australia. You're based in Australia as well. And so how does it feel to win in front of this crowd that really loved you tonight?
I think this is my crowd as well, I can see a lot of people supporting me, cheering my names. I've been living in Melbourne since 2007, almost 20 years. Feel like home as well, Melbourne, doesn't matter, Perth. And it's amazing, to race here and good supporter as well. But I would also like to dedicate this to my coach, John Beasley. He's supposed to come here, but he had operation, John, this is for you, John. Thank you so much for the support.
And finally, Aziz, you did mention you're 38. We're going into Malaysia final World Cup here, and I know you're looking for that Asian Games as well. But I suppose I've got to ask, we're only 2 years away from Olympic Games. LA 28 is so close. You've already competed in 5 Olympics. Are you thinking about a 6th, maybe?
I need to get permission from my wife first, actually. But I think I can say that this is, this season is the last World Cup for me in my career. And then I just want to focus for Commonwealth Games and Asian Games. And then could be maybe I can do World Championship after that in Shanghai because 2 weeks after. But I don't know what's in the future, but we go one step at a time. I'm not young anymore.
Aziz, thank you so much. Well done tonight. You're a World Cup winner for 2026.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, UCI. Yeah.
What a legend, Azizul Awang. Let's hope he does continue because, look, he's at the top of his game.
He's entertaining. He said, trying to keep up with the big boys. And he doesn't just mean big by their result sheets. He means big in stature because he really is a much smaller frame than either Hoffman or Richardson. But he's a very crafty rider. And I like that he said he needs to ask his wife for permission. They give up a lot. Partners of the female riders and the male riders give up so much in pursuit. It really is teamwork makes the dream work here. And what a ride from the Malaysian.
And what a location. You mentioned Perth, a lot of fans supporting Azizul Awang. Of course, Lee Hoffman as the Australian, but riding for Great Britain now, Matty Richardson. And we'll see all 3 of them up on the presentation dice. There they are, the men's Keirin medalists, Awang, Richardson and Hoffman.
Catania, MLA member for Midland. In 3rd place, representing Australia, Lee Hoffman. In 2nd place, the winner of the silver medal, representing Great Britain, Matthew Richardson. In 1st place, and winner of the gold medal, representing Malaysia, Azizul Hasni Awang. The gifts will be presented by the Honourable Dr. Tony Booty, MLA Attorney General, representing the Honourable Roger Cook, MLA Premier of Western Australia, and the Honourable Rhys Whitby, MLA Minister for Tourism. Ladies and gentlemen, please, once again, your applause for our medalists, Lee Hoffman, Matthew Richardson, and Azzy Awang.
One of the more likeable figures in the international track cycling scene. As you mentioned, almost 20 years living in Melbourne. It was John Beasley, who had Beasley Cycles in Footscray. He became the coach of the national team and thought it was best to bring them to Australia, a better place to prepare them. They didn't have velodromes over there at the time. And I tell you, John has done an incredible job of just building that program. And off the back of success of riders like Aziz, he is an absolute rock star in Malaysia, as is all. So well done to him, well done to John. And John has moved on from being the national track team coach and now looking after the overall federation. But we can... So the final little warm down for the riders from the men's Omnium. But we can go down to our next interview with Ben down in the middle.
Yeah, thank you very much, Scott. I'm down here with Yuan Liying, the winner of the women's sprint here tonight at the first World Cup of 2026. How did it feel out there? You're obviously super fast. How did it feel out there having to go over Elise Andrews for 2 rounds?
今天你获得了短距离针线赛的冠军，这也是2026年第1场世界杯的这个冠军。这次冠军你对阵的是奥运会冠军安德鲁斯，你觉得2场比赛下来感觉怎么样？
我觉得2场比赛下来吧，就是心理上是还可以接受的，就是感觉还是很崇拜他的吧。
After the race, but from a psychological part, you still have the big respect to the opponent.
Fantastic. And you were here in Perth about 6 months ago, doing some training, did some local racing as well. It's fantastic to have you here. Did that help you prepare for this at all?
你应该6个月前在澳大利亚有经历过一个训练营，包括也参加了一些本地的比赛。你觉得那一场的经历对你有帮助吗？
我觉得是有的，因为我觉得就是在国内的话，这种会很少，然后在这儿体验了一把，感觉大家也就是很小的小朋友也会都在骑，就是很激励我也。
It's definitely helpful because in China that race is not very common, and also when we stay in Australia have that experience, then the young rider also give the spirit to her.
Oh, fantastic. And finally, 2 gold medals already this weekend. You've still got 1 more race lined up. Are you feeling confident going into the women's Keirin?
这周已经是有2块金牌入账了，然后明天还有最后一个项目，你对这个项目有信心吗？
我肯定会拼尽全力的去比的，就尽自己最大的努力吧。然后成绩上的话，就是不留遗憾就可以。
She will try her best to try to reach the result and no regret when she off the track.
Awesome. Yuan Liying, Shishe, thank you very much. Congratulations, well done tonight.
What a massive future she has ahead, already winning Track World Cups at such a young age against the Olympic champion as well. And we know that Elise, with respect, is still in a build-up phase since the Paris Olympic Games, but regardless, you can only beat who's on the track. Minasato, she put away in the semi-final. The Olympic champion, she put away in the race for gold. She is going to be massive.
And she flagged how much respect she has for Elise Andrews as a competitor. And I think that's a really important call out because she takes the seriousness of the competition into each round.
Well, let's go down to the medal ceremony now for the women's sprint.
By Steve Catania, MLA member for Midland. In 3rd place, representing Germany, Sophie Lee Friedrich. In 2nd place, representing New Zealand, Elise Andrews. In 1st place, winner of the gold medal, representing China, Yuan Li Ying. Ladies and gentlemen, the gifts will be presented by Ben Houston, President, Commonwealth Games, Australia. Ladies again, please, one more time for your applause for our medalists. Sophie Lee Friedrich, Elise Andrews and Yuan Li Ying.
Well, a mix of experience and future greatness, I might add. And Elise Andrews will go away, prepare for the next 2 rounds of the Track Nations Cup. We'll see her getting better and better as this season progresses towards the Shanghai World Championships in October.
It has been a fantastic sprint competition here. The ride for bronze with Mina Sato and Friedrich was an incredible competition. The men's competition will be tomorrow. It'll be wonderful if they can match the fury that we saw today.
Still a big program to come. One more presentation still to come, and we can hear from the man that will be getting the gold medal.
Thank you very much, Scott. Yeah, I'm down here with Shunsuke Umemura, the winner of the men's Keirin here for the first, Omnium, rather, first World Cup of 2026. Shunsuke, that was a crazy Omnium. The lead changed a lot. How did it feel out there in the last points race?
It was so tough race. Everyone was so suffering, but I'm honored to win. Yeah.
And you went off the front a few times in that final points race. There was actually a small group off the front with like 15 laps to go, and you were working well with them, but it looked like everyone was on their knees. Did you execute it how you wanted to in the end?
Yeah, most of rider they're close to the point. That's why I have to carry everyone. But last moment it was almost empty. But I was trying to follow the strong rider, and at the end I won. Yeah, I'm really happy.
Well, there were some very strong riders in there, and you've come out on top in the Omnium, probably the most complete race that you'll do on the track now. We've got a few more World Cups coming up, Asian Games as well. Where will we see you next for 2026?
Yeah, after that, for sure, tomorrow I have Madison. Yeah, that's why I try to win with a Japanese rider. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Shunsuke Umemura. Arigato, and thank you very much. Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a very impressive performance from him in the men's Omnium. We'll see how he goes. The women won the Omnium as well, of course. So can the men double up and win theirs also? They really have come on strong. They actually engaged Daniel Gissiger, who was a former professional cyclist. I actually used to have a poster of Daniel on my wall back in the day when I was a kid. He was a good road cyclist, but he's become the coach of the endurance program for Japan for the last 6 or 7 years or so, and he's developed them to a fantastic level, as we've seen in all of these endurance races here.
Oh, it's a reminder that, you know, these riders are inspiring the next generation, and some of them within a generation, but certainly some incredible performances.
The medals will be presented by Tony Booty, MLA. Attorney General representing the Honourable Roger Cook, MLA, Premier of Western Australia, and the Honourable Rhys Whitby, MLA, Minister for Tourism. In third place, representing the United States of America, Graham Frisley. In second place, representing China, Wu Zhongji. In first place, and winner of the gold medal, representing Japan, Shunsuke Imamura. Ladies and gentlemen, the gifts will be presented by Craig Phillips, CEO of the Commonwealth Games Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, please, one more final time, your applause for our medalist, Graham Frisley, Wu Zhongji and Shunsuke Imamura. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes this presentation. It also concludes our evening. Please travel safe on your way home this evening. We look forward to seeing you all day tomorrow here at the Midvale Speed Tomb for the third day of racing, and it will be an absolute cracker. Thank you for joining us.
Well, we heard there from Matt Pointer, our venue commentator. That was the end of the second night of competition. Still a big one to come, Kate Bates. Final day coming up, as we heard, men's Madison. We saw the women today. A few more teams in the men's race. That'll be a cracker.
It will be. We've also got the women's Keirin, the men's individual sprint as well, and the women's Omnium. So it is a fantastic, it's today's program reversed. The genders are opposite for tomorrow, but the same program. And if it's anything like tonight, we're in for a very big show. And a very successful night for the Japanese team. Team China has had an excellent meet so far as well.
Respectful winner in the men's Omnium there, as we saw Shinsuke Imamura. Matthew Richardson, I think, will be out for revenge in that sprint competition. And that's what we'll have on the program. The women come out to do their Omnium. They get to be as tired as we saw the men then. The sprints for the men, Richardson, certainly the European champion, looking to come out, the world record holder, to try and get the gold that he was chasing in the Keirin. And what can Mina Sato, the world Keirin champion, do? What can she do in the women's Keirin as we go into tomorrow? Men's Madison, that's going to be an absolute cracker, as it always is. So we're looking forward to it. Make sure you come and join us, though. The final event, or the final night of the UCI Track World Cup here in Perth, Western Australia. This is the state where dreams come true. Dream holidays, dream sporting events. It's all here in WA. Tune in tomorrow night. Good night.